Yeah. I'm looking for it.
It's a agenda for next week. There you go, right there.
This meeting is a meeting of the Board of Education in public for the purpose of conducting the school district's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. This meeting is an in-person meeting at the location of 870 Colfax. Questions may be submitted beforehand to liz.goodwin@bhas.org or presented in person during the public comment sections as indicated in the agenda. Board members may be contacted through the emails listed below. Requests for special assistance, including for persons with disability, may be sent to liz.goodwin@bhas.org. I call this meeting to order officially at 5:38 p.m. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, next on the agenda is roll call. Secretary Triplett?
President Robinson,
Present.
Vice President Bradley,
Present.
Secretary Triplett, President, Treasurer Creighton, Trustee Bowen,
Present.
Trustee Buchanan, Trustee Rocket Martin.
Present.
We have a quorum.
All right, a quorum has been established. Next, there is approval of the agenda. Is there a motion to approve the agenda?
So move.
Madam President, I would,
Yes, ma'am. Okay, Dr. Townsend, would you like to provide the student update or would you prefer that it be, is there anything pertinent in there?
Pardon?
Is there
We'll
any?
wait till they come back.
Okay, so Liz has reminded me, which she did tell me earlier, that our student representatives are not present. So the agenda would be approved without presence of the student representative update that's under board business. And then I think I heard Trustee Rocket, were you attempting to say something other than Liz wanted me? Okay, Trustee Bowens?
yes, I would like to add two motions on the agenda. I mean,
Go ahead, what are they?
I would like for us to add a time limit on discussion items to no more than 3 minutes.
Okay, so 3 minutes per board member?
Yes,
Okay, and what's the second? What's the second?
okay, and then if that one fails, I'll add another one. I don't, when y'all here at 10 o'clock at night, don't say I didn't try to save you.
Okay, what's the other?
Can we, I know the contract renewals, can we discuss that, move that to our retreat?
So you're wanting to,
Put a motion on the floor to move our contract renewals to our April 23rd retreat?
okay, so there are S3, S4, S5, S6, X7, X8,
Staff
X9, staff reports 3 through 14 essentially.
Yes,
Okay, and then as far as the motion to approve a time limit, so I want to make sure I understand, you want to put a motion on the floor to allow, you want to add a motion to the agenda to allow for a vote to limit board comments to 3 minutes during this board meeting.
that is correct. For 3 minutes for a discussion item.
Okay, so Trustee Bowens has suggested that we alter the agenda to include, I'm assuming you would want to do the motion under board business, a motion to limit discussion items on this agenda to 3 minutes per board member. And then he's also wanting to remove all noted contract renewals, S3 through S14, and move those to the board retreat, which is, if I'm not mistaken, the 23rd of this month. Okay, is there anyone that supports his suggestion to do so? Both of the agenda as suggested or amended?
Madam President, as an elected official of this Board of Education, my time to speak on issues and what have you will not be limited to 3 minutes. So you're just gonna have a whole bunch of call to orders and everything else, because I'm not going to be censored on when it is, what it is, how long it is. I'm going to be allowed to speak. It depends on the situation and circumstance. That is censorship, in my professional judgment, and I would not be a part of that.
Okay, well, before I go to trustee Bowens, Dr. Townsend, you had a comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on the motion to remove contracts and push it to a later date. This is hiring and recruiting season, and I do want to ensure job security for our administrators that are doing a fine job with our young people. That's why I'm bringing this recommendation to the board. So it could potentially send a negative message to the educators in our building if their contracts are not discussed this evening, because we're prepared to go.
Okay, and Vice President Bradley, you had a comment?
I was just going to support the other motion with the staff reports being on the agenda tonight. And also looking at possibly making a consensus item and omitting 2 of them to vote as standalone items.
Okay, so I'm not sure I understood the first part of your statement. So are you saying you are suggesting that we not remove the contract renewals, but make them a consensus agenda?
Correct, with the exceptions of S8 and S11.
And who was S8 and 11?
8 would be the facilities director, and 11 would be Ms. Raquette over at MLK.
So a consensus agenda is essentially what the board was doing before, where we would vote to approve each of the reports all together in one consensus vote. So we would essentially be combining all of the reports outside of 8 and 11, I think is what he said, and taking one vote on all of those. And then those other 2 items would be standalone votes. Trustee Bowens?
Madam President, when I reviewed the contract that we are voting on, it says, according to section 3801229, the revised Michigan School Code, the superintendent is providing the following administrative employment contract for renewal through June 30th, 2023. My question and understanding, if I'm mistaken, please correct me, that we have until, is it May or June to renew these contracts? It behooves me, not saying anything about our staff. I think we have a wonderful staff. I think we need to have more discussion to see where we are at as a district and where's the vision that we're going to. Moving this out by a week is not hurting us. It's letting us talk and discuss and hear what everyone is stating. We don't even know how many kids are in one school building. One kid's school could have 80 students. Another could have this. We don't know. And without us getting that knowledge and having a discussion and just withholding it until next week, I'm not asking this to go next month, just till next week at the retreat. I don't think that's a problem. I think it's a bunch of, I'm not going to say it, but I think it's an issue. Now, on the agenda topics that I asked that us to put a time limit on, as my experience on being on multiple boards and serving in various government bodies, taking oath of office with Michigan Municipal League, it is okay to have time limits. It makes our meetings run efficiently and effective and allows us to stay on topic. I rest my case.
Okay, so I want to remind you all that we've had quite a bit of discussion and we are only on the 3rd item of the agenda. And so if we're trying to make efforts to have an efficient and effective meeting, we want to make sure that we're not taking too much time on this particular topic in itself. I'll go to Secretary Triplett.
I too, I agree with Trustee Bowens as it relates to us taking this off of the agenda. This has nothing to do with what we feel about our administrators. There's a lot of information. There's a lot of things that, for me, I feel uncomfortable. There's a lot of unknown factors as a Board of Education, at the last Board of Education meeting, we did have Mr. Miller on the agenda. And it was asked, Treasurer Creighton did make the statement of, first of all, why would we just have one of our administrative chiefs on an agenda? The second thing would be, when we talk about, we have 3 administrators at a high school with probably 400 students. Have we even had that type of discussion where are we going to still keep all of these administrators with this district with the district shrinking? We've, according to our data, we have lost almost 300 students from the last time from the year before. And so it's not that once we have this conversation and stuff, and it is presented, then we'll be able to make an informed decision. This is not about individuals, and it should never be about individuals. But if you have board members who have more questions, where they can vote on this, because this just blanket, because it's on the agenda, blanket saying, we're just gonna say yes. There's a lot, it was requested. Do we have, at the last meeting, have all of these people been evaluated? Do we know this? What are the evaluations?
Excuse me. I can answer. Everyone has been evaluated whose contract is coming for renewal. And with regards to high school, they have multiple year contracts. Their contract is not up to renewal for next year.
I understand that. As I was saying, President Robinson, the information has not been given to us. And so that's why I would say that I support it. Would be able to support it, but you can go ahead and put it on the table.
Okay, I think Dr. Townsend had another statement, and then I would like, the only person that hasn't said anything is Trustee Rockett, who's actually the chair of HR, so I want to give you an opportunity to speak as well. Dr. Townsend?
Yes, ma'am. With regards to the individuals we bring in for contract renewals, we had our Human Resources Committee meeting, and we discussed sharing the highlights of each individual who we're recommending for renewal. All evaluations have been complete. Traditionally, the superintendent, after completing the evaluation, brings the recommendation to the board for renewal based off performance and academic achievement. So I just want to share that information.
Okay, Trustee Rockett Martin?
My sentiments is this: if it is on our agenda and HR has done their job and see that it's put on our agenda, I would like to go ahead and vote tonight on these items. I would like to do the consensus for the contracts for the renewals. And I would also like to do the 3-minute limit. I believe I was at a city hall meeting, and that was one of the stipulations that they had at their meeting. So I would, that's my sentiments.
Okay, so Secretary Triplett, we're still in the initial motion of the amendment of the agenda. So Trustee Vaughn's initial request was that we add a vote to board business that would limit board member comments to 3 minutes per agenda item, and that we remove the contract renewals altogether. And then also we would have to remove student representative update because they're not present. So with each of the requests that he's made for the addition of the 3-minute limit as a board vote under board business and the contract renewals to be removed entirely, is there a second to that actual motion?
Support.
So you're gonna allow us to take the vote for the limit as well?
For what?
Point of order.
Yeah, we can take the limit.
Okay.
I can do it in 3.
Okay, so the motion has been made to approve the agenda with removal of the student representative update, removal of all contract renewals, and an addition to board business that limits board member comments that was made by Trustee Bowens and supported by Secretary Triplett. Is there any additional questions, comments, or concerns? Vice President Bradley?
I was gonna say, if we're going to do that, can we do the 3-minute limit as separate?
Right.
It's a motion. on the
We would
floor.
just be doing, so the 3-minute limit would just be taking a vote on whether we're gonna enact the 3-minute limit tonight. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Tonight.
Madam, sorry.
Go ahead if I'm misunderstanding, trustee Bowen.
Yes, and I just wanted to say, I had my hand up and you guys went through it. It was some concerns at our HR meeting by Treasurer Creighton. Ms. Raquel, that was when you were on the Black College tour. So it would behoove us to go ahead and make this vote.
I did listen.
Okay, well, there were some concerns. Are you aware that there was concerns? And that's it. That's my comment. We can call for the vote.
You had an additional comment? I'm sorry.
I'm just trying to get my mind set for the 3 minute. I don't want to go over. Start now.
Yeah.
With the contract and what have you, and this is something, this has absolutely nothing to do with the superintendent and his leadership team. This has everything to do with the Board of Education, just because the HR committee has this information. There is no documentation, nothing anywhere with the rest of us getting this information being sent forward to us. Okay, so I don't know anything. I think that we have to do a better job as chairman of our different committees to make sure once we come out of these committee meetings that this stuff is sent out. So, for me, I'm sitting here saying, again, it is not about, I do have some concerns about individual situations. And I think that the board should be able to have those conversations and discussions. And I think that they should be brought up to speed. But just because I am the chairman of the curriculum committee, I do not make the decision for this board in its entirety. It is not the superintendent's responsibility, neither is his staff, to make sure that the board is informed on what's happening in these committees. And a lot of committees, if we're to be honest, committees are having meetings and the stuff is not sent to the board in its entirety. So this is something that we need, that's something that we can work on. So you might not know things about what's going on in the curriculum committee because we have not had a meeting. And so it's not fair for me to just sit up here and say, because Ronaldo, Secretary Triplett said, we was in this meeting, this is what Secretary Triplett said, and none of you all knew what happened in my committee. So that's what I'm putting out there on the table.
Madam President, Massey,
So Dr. Townsend had his hand up first. I apologize. I'm gonna go to him and then I'll go to you, trustee Raquel Martin.
Yes, ma'am, just very briefly. This was shared in the weekly superintendent update last week.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Townsend. Trustee Raquel Martin.
yes, and I'd like to ask a question. Is this not, these contracts, are they not made in conjunction with the Business and Finance Office?
Yes, ma'am, they are.
So what's on here has gone through the Business and Finance Office? And I assume that is the dollar amounts, if that's the issue or whatever the issue is, that is, has been approved. Okay. She can,
When this discussed in HR?
You have the floor, Ms. Gill.
I'm trying to answer I'm thinking how to answer the question because Dr. Townsend, do you want to provide information? This has not gone through finance because that is not our regular process once people are employed and once contracts are up for renewal. So I don't want to be misleading, but no steps were missed. I also want to communicate that. I hope that's helpful.
Okay, so are you raising Vice President Bradley?
Well, I just say, I do understand everyone's concern. My main thing is that we just make sure that we are handling business and that we are sending the right message to our admin team. By this, if there's individual staff reports that need to come out and we need to discuss, then we can do it that way. But let's make sure we keep the ball rolling on what we have to do.
Can someone give me a time check, please?
Keeping the ball rolling, sorry, Madam President,
You have the floor.
keeping the ball rolling and moving this to next week is still keeping the ball rolling. You ever go down a hill and it starts getting slow because it's getting ready to stop, and then it gets speed, it accelerates? We have an employee engagement survey out that we have not gotten, and we have, I don't know about you guys, but I have heard and I've communicated with several staff, teachers, and I don't want to get into micromanagement, but it's a concern, and it behooves me that some of these people vote for us, live in our community, and we're rushing this. And we can't even have a conversation. If we listen to the meeting on HR, then we would know that one of our trustees had an issue. Now, I know how numbers work. It's a number game, and I'm outnumbered on this. So we can go ahead and vote and get moving on. But the blood is on our hands, and we will be guilty. Well, I won't, but some of us will be guilty because we rushed stuff off and we just didn't talk. That's all I'm asking for. Diplomacy, that's what works in real world. It's having a conversation. Let's see what's going on.
Okay, so I'm pretty sure I'm over the limit of the input that each board member has to provide in each individual section, but I'm gonna go ahead and go to Vice President Bradley, and then we're gonna proceed.
Okay, I want to try to get some clarification and all your understanding, get an understanding. So what is going on? What are we missing here that needs to be discussed about these contracts? Because it looks like every time these contracts come up for renewal, there's always a long, drawn-out discussion about it. So I would like to know what's the issue, what's going on with that?
Is that directed to me?
Yes, or whoever can answer that question.
Madam President?
You have the floor, Trustee Bowen.
What I'm asking for is we have a retreat next week. We're a district in transition. We have not gotten a solidified number count. We have more administration, and I'm asking us to have a conversation. Have you guys toured our school buildings? Have you seen what's going on? And to make it look like I'm causing a show and causing a long conversation is a bunch of malarkey. Once again, we have to go to the voters and ask them over and over to do a tax rate, increase our school funding, and stuff is being done wrong. It's a reason why we have teachers resigning day in and day night. These teachers live in our community. They pay taxes, they care. And all I'm asking for is for us to move this to next week. Now, again, I told you guys, I understand how math works. 1 + 1 = 2. I'm the minority. Let's go ahead, call for the vote and get it over with. But again, the blood is on this district hands when we start seeing people resign because of the treatment and information that has gone. Now, I'm not calling no staff out, but I just want us to talk. Let's talk. Angel, our treasurer, she had concerns. We have a retreat that we're going to discuss those concerns. Can't we just approve this at the retreat? Give her time to give vocal?
Okay, so I am going to go ahead and call for the vote. The way that I vote may be surprising. I'm going to communicate in advance, because I have not provided my comment, that I am going to actually back up Trustee Bowens and Secretary Triplett in the request to place these on the board agenda. The reason that I am doing so is that right now we only have a 5-member board. We have 2 people that are saying they are uncomfortable, and we have 2 people that are saying they are fine, and I'm the tiebreaker. I don't feel comfortable with proceeding with the vote where I have half of my board saying that they don't feel that right now is a good time. And I also understand that if we proceed with these items on the agenda, we are going to go back and forth with a small quorum of people on every agenda item. So this is now taking 20 to 30 minutes of discussion, and to move our meeting forward and to try to do what's in the best benefit of the board, I'm going to proceed with supporting Trustee Bowens and his request to amend the agenda. These items will be added to the Saturday, April 23rd board retreat. However, I want to communicate to all of our staff members that are on renewal that this is not a message that you are not appreciated or supported as a staff of Benton Harbor area schools, but I just want to give our trustees an opportunity to get the additional information that they asked for. So Secretary Triplett, can you please call the vote?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bradley,
No.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Bowen,
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
No,
motion carried.
Next on the agenda, we have review of board norms, and I apologize. I don't actually have a copy of the norms in my, I'm gonna ask that Vice President Bradley read those to the Board of Education tonight.
Good evening, Board of Education norms.
Yes.
I'm calling you after the meeting.
Apologize.
We will treat each other with respect. We will listen to learn. We will refrain from side conversations. We will use our time wisely, starting and ending our meetings on time. I think we done broke that one. We will challenge ideas, not people. We will ask questions when in doubt. There will be no surprises at the board table. We will practice the 7 norms of collaboration. The 7 norms of collaboration are pausing, paraphrasing, posing questions, putting ideas on the table, providing data, paying attention to self and others, presuming positive intentions.
All right, next on the agenda, we have public comment on agenda items. Is there anyone that is here that would like to make a comment on an agenda item? All right, hearing none, I'm gonna proceed without even reading the public comment statement. Next, we have approval of meeting minutes. And we are approving the minutes for regular session 3/8/2022, closed session 3/8/2022, and the special session 3/21/2022. Is there a motion to approve the meeting minutes as noted?
So moved.
I second the motion.
The motion was made by Secretary Triplett and supported by Trustee Rocket Martin. Any questions, comments, or concerns regarding the meeting minutes? All right, hearing none. Secretary Triplett?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bradley,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Bowen,
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes,
motion carried.
All right, awesome. Next on the agenda, we have board business. We're going to begin with the motion to approve a time limit for this meeting to limit our comments to 3 minutes per board member. Is there a motion to approve the motion that was made by Trustee Bowens?
I move. I support.
Oh, you support. So the motion was made by Trustee Bowens and supported by Secretary Triplett. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
Let's get the timer starting. I'm sorry.
All right, hearing none. Secretary Triplett.
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bradley,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Bowen,
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
yes.
motion carried. For
All
this
right.
meeting only.
Awesome. So Liz, we're gonna, we don't really have a lot on here to make much comments on, but if you could assist us with getting our timer set when we get to those discussion items, it would be great. First on the agenda, we have committee reports. We were to have Ms. Creighton give her report, but she was unable to attend. And I attended the last meeting, but I wasn't anticipating that she would be absent, so I did not have any actual notations or anything that was prepared. Mr. Johnson, would you do me a favor and kind of go over a brief review of what we discussed in the meeting? I know that I remember us discussing our assets, potential things that we can do with our assets, things of that nature. But I am ill prepared today to provide that report.
I'll be happy to. It'll just take a moment to pull open the file.
All right. While we're waiting, we can actually go to Human Resources, Ms. Raquette Martin.
I asked Mr. Bowen if he would sit in on that meeting for me. I was away.
Mr. Bowens, would you be able to give a brief update for HR?
We had a great meeting. We discussed contract renewals, the grant coordinator position, and Madam Treasurer Creighton had some concerns. Unfortunately, she can't be at the meeting tonight. She was running a presentation, a spreadsheet and everything, and we discussed moving a meeting back, and that was basically it.
All right, awesome. Any questions for trustee Bowens? All right, Mr. Johnson, are you ready?
Yes, thank you. During the Finance Committee meeting, we discussed the April budget revision, which is being presented this evening for board consideration. We also walked through the monthly financial reports. And in addition to that, we discussed a possible real estate matter.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson. And we've also moved our meeting from the 27th to the 20th of this month, so that we can have a guest to come in and kind of give us some foundational information about our assets in the process for that. Next on the agenda, we had, any questions for Mr. Johnson?
What was
Trustee
the,
Bowens?
if I heard correct, what was the real estate matter?
So Treasurer Creighton asked if we could have an attorney come in and kind of talk to us about the process of looking at the value of properties that we have and things of that nature.
Thank
So we
you.
have a guest that's going to be coming in to talk to us in our next finance meeting and kind of go over that, a guest from Troon.
Thank you.
Correct, Mr. Johnson? Okay. All right, any other questions regarding the finance report? And thank you, Mr. Johnson, for providing that for me, because even though I was aware that she wasn't here, my mind just realized that there was no one to give that report. All right, next we have curriculum and SPED, Secretary Triplett.
I had an opportunity to speak with Ms. Baptiste this evening. She just started last week, and we haven't had an opportunity to meet as the chairman of the curriculum committee. So she's been extremely busy. As soon as her feet hit the ground, she was running. And so I'm going to schedule a meeting with her. And it is my goal that we'll have something, if at all possible, at the retreat to be able to present as the director of, as the chairman of curriculum and instruction. So
All
that's my
right.
report.
Any questions for Secretary Triplett? Hearing none. Vice President Bradley, facilities.
Good evening, everyone. We had our facilities committee meeting on the 15th. Everyone was present. We discussed, and then anybody on the facilities committee, if I missed anything, please chime in. We discussed our gym main entrance here on the Circle Drive, and we're having some security issues, and we're trying to get an engineering firm, and well, I think we are going to do an engineering firm to come out and look at possibly getting that renovated, getting bid specs and looking into safety grants, and also working with finance on that. We discussed the facility rental agreement and how that process works. Also looking to adding building calendars and district calendars to that process as well, so that way everyone is kind of on the same page. Discussed the second year roof maintenance program, restore to work, and that was $200,000 worth of work on operating buildings, and that's just to bring up everything, keep everything current. The timeline is extended 5 to 10 years if we can get a green light, and that was, I don't know, that was supposed to be on this month's agenda, but I don't know if they got moved backward. So we did get a letter from the boiler inspector, and then including kudos to the staff for the high school boiler work. And I know there has been a project here for the last few years on facilities, and we finally got everything up to code and everything working. Discussed looking into a bond issue to address heating and AC upgrades. There was a teen center visit by a group of investors, and then we also discussed working relationships with those investors and try to get the teen center brought back up to code. Discussed the building walkthroughs and the process behind those in the upcoming school year. We discussed the fertilization program for our athletic fields, and that's already ongoing. Also discussed if we probably can get the work done in-house or get a Bobcat rental. Interesting fact that was brought up was, and I didn't know this, that USC, University of Southern California, would utilize our football field when they would play Notre Dame back in the day. So that was something interesting I took from that too. We discussed the tennis court upkeep. Also discussed bathroom renovations district-wide and trying to get that fast-tracked. Sinking funds would cover that project, and it's probably will get started hopefully around the fall or next school year. Future topics include graduation prep and also discuss adding a custodial member.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Vice President Bradley?
Madam President,
You have the floor, Trustee Bowens.
we got an email about vandalism in some of our schools. Is there a status update on that?
Dr. Tom, oh, is that for Vice President Bradley or Dr. Townsend?
Vice President Bradley.
We did this, well, you know, I'm trying to remember. Dr. Townsend, do you remember that, or Mr. Miller?
What's the question?
About the vandalism email with the some of the buildings being vandalized.
No, well, what's the specific question?
Do we have a status update on that?
Not currently.
I'll be honest, I can't even remember which email you all are referencing.
Yeah, I'll be happy to do research and add it in this week's status report.
Okay,
Okay, appreciate that. Thank you.
Secretary Triplett?
Yeah, I guess I sat in the facilities meeting. It's my first time being on facilities, and I was just quiet. I just listened to see if there's a lot. I am very concerned, and I have expressed this all year long about facilities. The aesthetics of your school. When you go to other school districts, their high schools and their school grounds are beautiful. Our school grounds, in many instances, look horrific. Leaves from the year before. If you walk out of this meeting tonight and you go down that Tiger ramp, you will see leaves that are at least 4 years old. I've been watching this for some time. That's just a small piece. I remember us saying that there's going to be a walkthrough. I just can't stand that look of confusion. Like, you know, people are confused with what I'm saying, like they can't see. Nobody on this Board of Education is blind. And if you walk around here and everybody think that this is acceptable, when you walk in these buildings and they stink, or you look outside right now, other school districts right now, they have people out there removing leaves and everything. We have bushes that have grown up to the top of buildings. Many people may not know how things look, but I know when a bush has become a tree, that's 5 years of neglect. It takes time. And so even on the inside, and it's a big concern of mine too, is our kids deserve better. Our teachers deserve better. And I think that our teachers and our administrators are being placed in positions that's creating problems for them to be able to go forward in those areas to make sure when they come in these buildings, you know, that our schools and our facilities look the best. I hear about the boilers and everything, but there's just things aesthetically. And there are things that money that we have and people are being paid to take care of these things. And I do want to take this opportunity to publicly thank Mr. Miller. When he was placed over the facilities and what have you, anything that was asked of him or asked to be addressed, it really was, to the best of his ability, it was addressed. And so, you know, these are things that this is not rocket science. When I ride past this high school, people come from all over this country.
You ran out of time. Please wrap up your comment.
Okay, they ride past with grass coming up through the cement. That looks horrific. That's embarrassing. So I'm excited about being on the facilities committee and looking forward to us making Benton Harbor what it should be.
Thank you, Secretary Triplett. I just want to add, you did mention the walkthrough. So in our last facilities meeting, what was requested was that we go through the initial walkthroughs that was done with each of the administrators. I believe in the fall, revisit those concerns that were expressed and see where we are with correcting those initial issues. And they have been asked, Mr. Miller has been asked to bring that information back to the committee in this month's meeting so we can see where we were versus where we are and ensure that those items that have not been addressed are a top priority for the summer so that we don't come back in the fall with those same issues reflecting as concern for the fall walkthrough. I would also like to take this time to commend Mr. Miller for his efforts in his position, because I also believe that he's done an amazing job. And I just want to voice my support of you. I know that this is the second time that your contract has been moved to another meeting. Mr. Miller, can you take a look at me? I hope you're not over it. You probably said they done moved my contract again. But I just want you to know that I support you 100% as far as your contract renewal. And I don't want you to think that me voting to move it to Saturday means that I'm going to vote against renewing your contract. I believe in your efforts and I appreciate you 100%. Okay? All right. Next on the agenda, we have Dr. Townsell with the Michigan State field trip request. And it is from Principal Roseberg.
Yes,
Staff
ma'am.
report S1.
I'll allow Mr. Roseberg to present it and I'll read the staff report. Thank you.
Come on down, Mr. Roseberg. You have to be so smooth all the time.
Can't help it.
Tell her, Triple, tell her. Greetings and good evening, everyone. Again, I'm Principal Roseberg, Ben Arbor High School principal, and I'm here today seeking board approval for a Michigan State University trip for a group of our freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, selected group, May 25th, 26th, and 27th. This is a trip that I've done for the past 7 years, and I honestly did not know the impact of this trip until today. One of my seniors came to me today and had told me, because he knew that this trip was primarily just for freshmen, sophomores, and juniors. He came to me today and told me, he said, Mr. Roseberg, is it possible that I can go on this trip? I said, well, you know this is for seniors, so why would you want to go? He said, well, Mr. Roseberg, you know already that I've been accepted to Michigan State University. I said, yes, that's true. And he told me that he would like to go back on this trip because the reason that he is going to Michigan State or making the decision to go to Michigan State was because of the trip that we took when he was an 8th grader. Mm-hmm. I just couldn't believe it. And I thought that was so powerful because for many years, after students have left the 8th grade, I didn't know the impact of that trip on students once they enter the high school. When we're there on campus, we actually stay in the dorm room for 3 days. The dorm room is only for us. There's no other student bodies or any other people in the dorm room but us. We take a college tour of various historical sites on Michigan State campus. We also hold class the 2nd and 3rd day of our visitation. So we will be in a lecture hall, holding class, taking breaks, if we were actually on a college campus. So I'm asking for board approval to allow approximately 50 to 60 students with the appropriate number of chaperones to accompany myself and these students to Michigan State University, May 25th, 26th, and 27th. Any questions?
Vice President Bradley.
So the students will be just visiting, just taking a tour of the campus and going to the different academic departments?
Actually, I apologize that I didn't make that clear. We actually stay on campus for 3 days. Okay. We stay in the Brody Complex in Armstrong Hall, which is right in the Brody Complex area. And we have access to lecture halls. I set up an itinerary for our students, a full day itinerary for our students. And we're there for 3 days. The only day that we're not in class is the first day because that's the actual day that we actually take the tour. We visit various sites, the museum that's on Michigan State campus. I don't know if anyone is familiar with that. It is a museum that is almost built upside down when you see it from the street. We take a visit of the cyclotron. We also go to MSU Dairy Farm. And we also go to the Butterfly Farm, and we also attend Michigan State Dairy Ice Cream because Michigan State is actually very known for its ice cream because of agriculture. They take us through the whole process, how it's made, and our students get to experience that firsthand.
Okay, and I just want to point out to the board that on the back of staff report S1 is actually the client booking contract for the trip that has some additional details noted on
The
it?
trip is fully funded by students. It's not required of Bernard area schools to pay any of the money. It's fully funded by students. The amount of students that actually attend the trip is based on the ability to pay. I do offer scholarships, a couple scholarships for students. One of our students will receive a scholarship because she lost her mother tragically this year, so we're going to pay for her trip this year. So we do offer scholarships, just a couple for those who can't pay, but it is fully funded by students.
When you say we, are you meaning the district or are you saying you're paying out of pocket? sir?
Myself, yes, ma'am.
Oh. You have the floor, Secretary Triplett.
First of all, I'd like to say that that's absolutely amazing. I am very concerned with the fact that we don't have money set aside for our kids to go on field trips, and they don't have to come out of their pockets for this type of money, especially in a district that the data shows do not have that type of money. And I think that our principals and what have you should be supportive when they want to take our kids on trips like this. So there's money for everything else, and I would like for them to look into so that these kids can, these trips should be sponsored. Our kids, the majority of our kids are when you talk about some income bracket and what have you, they fall into an income bracket where this can be strenuous on their parent. So I'm surprised that we don't, nothing has even been looked at for this trip to be paid for by the school district. It's very powerful. I was a 4-H'er. As a 4-H'er, my mom worked for the Cooperative Extension Services for 30 years at Michigan State University. When I first went there as a 4-H'er, that was my first introduction to a college campus. And from that point on, seeing that college campus made a tremendous difference in my life. So I am so proud.
You have two nephews and a niece and a nephew that graduated.
Yeah,
from
my
there.
niece and my
Absolutely.
nephew graduated from there, and Calabria Gondrazik graduated from Michigan State University just recently from the class of 2015. So, this is absolutely amazing. And thank you for bringing that from middle school. I'm familiar with what he used to do in the middle
That's
school.
7 years.
And
7
bring it up
years.
here. And I think it'll be a wonderful, it's wonderful. But if there's anything that we can do to look into these trips being sponsored by the school, it is too much money coming into the school district for our kids to have to pay for field trips. They cannot afford them.
Can you clarify how much it is per student?
It is $150 per student. That take care of housing, food, transportation. We buy them a shirt because we have a historical picture that we take every year on top of Sparty. I have 7 years of those pictures, but that take care of everything. So the only thing students wouldn't need anything else for this trip. Again, we are on one floor. All things are taken care of as far as providing safety and security for our students. We make sure we have their right chaperones. And out of 7 years, I hadn't had one issue. of
Okay,
taking this
so
trip.
if you find that you have another student that needs to be sponsored, I'll sponsor one.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Again,
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear about this. I'm also kind of wondering, what will the middle school kids now think of this? So they are no longer the ones.
I'm
being-
hoping that the middle school will continue this tradition that we set at
Okay.
Fairplain. One of the first things that the kids asked me when I came here is, Mr. Rosebar, are we going to MSU? And again, it really touched my heart to find out that a kid applied, got accepted based off that field trip. Because again, I don't have any real data to present because it was just something we did in middle school.
Right.
But based off of what he had said, he said, Mr. Rosebar, I wouldn't be going if it wasn't for that 8th grade. Considering going to Michigan State University if it wasn't for that trip.
All right, Trustee Bowens?
If I'm correct, last month we approved, or the month before, time is flying, the Black College Tour. And if I'm correct, there was some grant money that would lower the cost.
Dr. Townsend, can you clarify?
I have to go with research. Do you got the information, Ms.
Yeah.
Roseberg?
So yes, built in our Title I funds, there was a field trip that was So when I came on board as the principal of Ben Arbor High School, Title I funds and budget was already preset prior to me getting here to the high school. So that was already built into our budget this school year. It is something I will look at as far as building into the budget for next year. We're trying to expose our kids to as much college university as we can. Possibly tomorrow, every last one of our seniors will be going to Western for the entire day. We'll be back by the buses get here. But I set that up because we are SAT, PSAT testing tomorrow, grades 9, 10, and 11. I didn't want to send our kids home or say they had to be virtual or anything like that. So what I did was I just scheduled a trip, and we're taking every senior to Western Michigan University tomorrow at 8:45 a.m.
Go Broncos.
Go Broncos.
I would just suggest, maybe do we need to do a letter to the Benton Harbor Education Foundation asking for sponsorship or support, or Dr. Thompson, can that be something that could probably?
Absolutely, but I also want to share, we do have money to build this in the budget next year. And that's that's why you have a lot of field trips coming tonight, because I'm like, let's get our babies out there and enjoying what's out there so they can be productive post-secondary. So it's a top priority, and we're asking all of our principals to recommend field trips for our kids.
It will be in our budget next year, but prior to my coming to the high school, the budget and everything was already set, so.
Understood.
Dr. Towns, I'm going to pass it to you to present staff report S1.
Thank you. Reason for board approval: that the board shall approve field trips and other district-sponsored trips. Facts and analysis: Benton Harbor High School is requesting permission to take several high school students to tour Michigan State University. Students will also experience college life and acquaint themselves with curriculum information, entrance requirements, and financial aid resources. The trip is scheduled for May 25th through the 27th of 2022. This trip will accommodate 50 students. It is estimated that there will be 5 chaperones. The field trip will be student funded. Policy reference, policy 2340, field and other district sponsored trips. The recommended action is that Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education votes to approve the field trip to Michigan State University as presented.
Is there a motion to approve staff report S1?
So moved.
Support.
The motion has been made by Secretary Triplett and supported by Vice President Bradley. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none. Secretary Triplett.
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bradley,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Bowen,
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, awesome. Next on the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and Grand Valley State University is one of the fastest growing university in the state of Michigan. Mr. Roseberg, Grand Valley State University is the Harvard of the Midwest.
I've actually checked into Ferris, Grand
I
Valley,
ain't thinking about no fair.
Central Michigan, and University of Michigan as of future trips for our students. Absolutely.
And then they have a Chavez Park.
Saginaw Valley, I will keep them in mind as well. Thank
They
you.
were in the
And you know
Glee.
what-
And make sure we hit Howard on the next HBCU trip.
That's
And
right.
then-
So, and while we are
Definitely.
out of order, essentially, I would just like to also add that I would like to see these universities actually come to us. When I was here, we had entities that would come. We had college fairs. We had people that would do on-site enrollment and things like that. And I actually got approved for Western the same day. So we could potentially bring all of them to us so that we have access to all of the universities.
Yeah, we did that earlier this, we had a college fair about 2 weeks ago.
Did you?
We partnered with the Boys and Girls Club. All of
Oh,
our
that
kids
was a
went.
partnership.
Yeah, that was a Ben Harbor situation
But where was it though?
at the teen center across the street.
See, that's what threw me off.
It was right there.
Okay, thank you. Great job, Dr. Townsend. Great job. I thought it was the Boys and Girls Club event.
No, that was us. Partnership.
Well, awesome. Great job. Yes, Vice President Bradley.
Real quick, Lake Michigan College actually used to do, they had their main college night in October, but in the morning, they would come to the new student commons and set up and have a college fair at the high school. So I do remember that.
Did you share that on our page?
Absolutely. You talking about the college, the thing at the Boys? Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, we're gonna move it right along. Six Flags Fairplane East field trip.
Mr. Litton. Welcome, Mr. Litton.
Good evening. Sorry, I'm not good with microphones. I'm pretty loud, but oh man, look at that handwriting. All right. All right. Well, Principal Litton, Mr. Litton, as I prefer, work at Fairplane East, working with these wonderful staff members here. Our students have been working very, very hard this year. We've made improvements all throughout the year, and we're very excited about everything that's been going on. Mr. Ardell Clark, our family engagement coordinator, and I and the rest of our staff would like to take our kids who have earned the right to go to Six Flags to broaden their horizons using different data measures such as academics, attendance, and behavior throughout the school year to show these kids that their behavior and their attendance and academics can lead them to earning better privileges in life. So that's where we're trying to take them to Six Flags. We've been telling the kids this throughout the school year, trying to show them that, hey, if you guys are acting right, if you're doing the right thing, we will be able to take you to different spots. But we can't, as Ms. Terrell always says, control you. If we can't control you in the hallway, how can we control you outside on a field trip? So,
Amen.
yep. So we're trying to do the best that we can, but we are asking for board approval to take our students. About 100 kids is what we're looking at right now, based on academics, attendance, and behavior. I have that data all on a Google sheet that we've been looking at throughout the school year, just to see who can go and who is eligible to go based on that data. For behavior, we're looking at discipline referrals, a combination plus suspensions. Academics, we have taken the all of their reading scores, all of their math scores, and all of their NWA scores, and looked at that whole throughout the year, and that's on a spreadsheet as well, so we can use that data. And then attendance is simply absences. So we're trying to use that, and we're seeking board approval to go to Six Flags on June 6th, 2022. Mr. Clark will be going. I will probably be staying back, and then we are sending our teachers this year. And as Mr. Roseberg stated about starting a tradition, we want this to be a tradition that we do at Fairplane East for years to come, where we go, we're going to have the support staff go next year. This year, we're going to send the teachers, and we'll just keep rotating it like that. But we want to show these kids that they have the opportunity to go out there if they are doing what they are supposed to do. Are there any questions?
My question would be, is the district paying for this, or is this student paid?
We are fundraising. We have been fundraising since basically November, doing popcorn sales.
Okay.
And we are also going to host a dance on May 6th. We are sending home the flyers actually tomorrow for your daughter. But we are going to be doing a dance where it's a spring fling type thing that Mr. Clark is putting on. And we have also been, like I said, selling popcorn and chips outside of lunch hours, because I know that's the big group. So, and we have so far raised $1,600 doing popcorn sales. So, yeah.
That's amazing.
We also did have one parent, because she knew about this idea. She has donated about $700 herself. So that came out of nowhere. We were not expecting that. So parent of the year right there.
She sure is, because I can't match that. Any other questions for Mr. Litton? Trustee Bowens and then Secretary Triplett.
Great trip. Great trip. I just, just last week in St. Louis, I think it was in Florida.
Mhm.
A kid went on a trip, and it was a lot of, I know you're gonna have that fear of parents.
Mhm.
I would also be more, that's it.
We will be bringing enough staff members to make sure that we are covered. For every 15 tickets we buy with the Six Flags, we do get to send a staff member. So, that's why we're going to make sure we send enough, not to mention we will pay, if we have to, out of pocket for some other staff members to go. So we are adequately funded down there. So we do not want that. That is my biggest fear. You are correct. So we will be watching the kids like a hawk. I promise.
Okay,
you.
that's,
Yes.
Amani's my nephew. That's all I can say.
Yeah. So I have experience going to Washington, DC. So we'll see if we can get some t-shirts or something like that. That's one of the keys, is getting like a bright t-shirt so we can always find the kids. So yeah, but we'll try to get that done too. So.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Secretary Triplett.
I would like to say that at Fairplane East, every time I've gone into Fairplane East, it's a beautiful atmosphere. Through whatever they're going through, they still do their very, very best to make it happen. as a teacher in this district for 27 years, I personally never left a student at home. I found from my experience that when you take those kids to other places, that you see a completely different student. And so when we sit here and we say, well, this student can't go, we're having children miss out on an opportunity that they may never, ever get a chance to do. And I don't think that you guys, you have your system and what you all have in place. A lot of times it's subjective. A lot of times it's personality conflict, even with adults. So, you know, I just myself personally, that kind of hurts me, that there will be some kids who once again have been denied, who once again have not been given an opportunity to at least try. You know, I think if they go, these are elementary students and they're learning how to behave themselves, they get over there in a place, I think that the staff over there is strong enough to be able to make the necessary adjustments. But that's just my opinion. It bothers me that we go through and identify kids that cannot go on trip. If it's a school trip, there's an expectation, conversation with parents, and they should be able to make it. But that's just me. But I definitely will support this field trip.
Can I respond real fast? Just so we have been preferencing this as a behavior trip. So, and not to mention a lot of the data that we're using, like NWA data is not subjected to a teacher or an adult making that decision. If you know what I mean, right? So I just want to say,
if I don't score high, I get punished.
that's just one small factor. And I just want to make sure that we do have that non-subjective data in there as well that we're trying to use to make sure. So, and then we will we'll include the teachers in that decision of who goes, and also, we'll look at other things too that's going on. So,
but if I may put it out here, I've never, when I went on trips with my students, the one that was labeled the worst had the best behavior. And they had the best time, they were given an opportunity. So I will hope that you guys, when you're going through your list and what have you revisit.
we will be going through with a fine
Thank you
tooth
so
comb,
very
I
much.
promise you that.
And I don't want to be penalized because I struggle in reading.
Yeah, absolutely. We're not gonna, that's not,
Okay.
Yep.
I think I understand what I'm sorry, go ahead. You're saying that there may be a child that maybe has a behavior issue, but they may have scored higher in other areas, or they have perfect attendance. So
Mhm.
all of those factors are there to maybe
Correct.
balance it out a
Yes.
little bit.
Mhm.
I would also like to say that I love the environment and culture of your school.
Thank you.
It feels like old school Benton Harbor area schools, and it feels like family. And I think you've done an amazing job as a principal with ensuring that culture is there. And I know that it's because of not only you, but some of the teachers that have been in the district for years. And it really feels like the original Benton Harbor Tigers. Yeah.
Thank you.
Trustee Raquel Martin.
Yes, just to kind of help you a little bit, might save you some dollars. I used to take kids to math and science days. And those were days at Great America where they discounted the tickets a little bit and gave them food tickets too. And also shut the park down to everybody else. Nobody was there but school kids. And so they could get on the rides over and over again. They could play the games over and over again without having the influence of the outside community. They're just school kids. It's called Math and Science Days. And you actually could order packets from Great America, and they would have little exercises and things that they could do with the roller coasters and the things there. So just a little tidbit for you.
I'm writing that down for next year.
Okay, it'll save you a whole lot of money.
Yeah.
And you don't have to be in competition with the outside community. You just have kids there, teachers there, and it basically it's geared for you, set up for you.
All right, if there are no other questions, Vice President
I was
Bradley.
just gonna say real quick, when you said old school Benton Harbor, this trip reminds me of that because, we would have stuff like that. I remember choir days, going with the school choirs to Six Flags. And like I said, going over to your building, which I haven't been in a minute, I need to show up and come back over. But when I went on the visit, the culture, seeing the familiar faces from support staff, teachers, it feels like home when you go to your building. So
Thank you.
All right, Dr. Townsend, can you please present staff report S2?
Yes, ma'am. Reason for board approval, the board shall approve field trips and other district-sponsored trips which are planned to keep students out of the district overnight or longer or out of state. Facts and analysis, the Fairplain East Elementary staff Six Flags over Great America to celebrate the students with excellent behavior, academics, and attendance throughout the school year. The trip is scheduled for June 6, 2022. It is anticipated that 100 students and 20 chaperones will attend. The cost of the field trip will be covered by fundraising efforts by students. Policy reference 2340, field and other district-sponsored trips. Recommended action that Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education vote to approve the Fairplain East field trip to Six Flags over Great America as presented.
Is there a motion to approve staff report S2?
So moved.
Support.
The motion has been made by Secretary Triplett and supported by Vice President Bradley. Any additional questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, Secretary Triplett?
President Robinson.
Yes.
Vice President Bradley.
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Bowen.
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, awesome. Next on the agenda, as a reminder, we removed the contract renewals for our amazing staff. We will be reviewing those at the board retreat on the 23rd of this month. So we are going next to strategic plan update. Dr. Townsend.
Yes, very briefly, President Robinson and myself had the opportunity to tour Benton Harbor area schools, municipalities. For example, we presented our strategic plan at Sodus Township and at Benton Harbor City Hall. In addition to, we have a trip coming up with Benton Charter Township, I believe this week or next week. And also we presented at St. Joseph Township, Charter Township. It was well received. The elected officials are very hopeful for what's happening in Benton Harbor area schools. And everyone has said this has been the first time in a long time that the district has come out to present a strategic plan and direction for the district at their regularly scheduled meetings. So shout out to President Robinson and myself for hitting the ground. And we're going to continue to share this information with our district so everyone knows where we're going when we come back to school July 1st, meaning the new school year starts July 1st, where we really hit the ground running on setting up metrics and project management goals to accomplish the goal of strategic plan in year one. That's all I have, President Robinson.
All right, and essentially what we did was he introduced himself, I introduced myself, he did the initial mission, vision, and the belief statements, and then I presented the goals, and we talked about how important it is that we're transparent and that we ensure all our stakeholders are aware of our strategic plan and where we're going, and as he stated, it was well received. So I think it's only one left on are we doing the Benton Harbor Educational Foundation, or do we have to follow up on that one? That one's virtual.
No, I meet with them. I'm a part of the board, so I'll
So
share
you
with them
presented
there.
that one,
Mhm.
okay. So the last one that we have is
Benton Charter Township.
Benton Charter
Yep,
Township.
and we're not doing Berrien Reese,
Okay.
just our municipalities.
My request, I think we tried to get to the Berrien County Commissioners, but they don't do presentations. So any of the entities that we attempted to present to, can we send them an email that has this form in it and ask that they share
Yep,
with
I
their
have
public
a,
officials?
I have a list that Ms. Goodwin keeps, and we'll make sure we share this high-level two-pager with all of those individuals that hold seats in the area.
Thank you very much. Vice President Bradley.
Oh, no, I have a question.
All right, any Secretary Triplett?
Well, I'm just happy to see that this is moving forward, and I appreciate Dr. Townsend. We had a conversation when I got on the board about the importance of making sure that you get out there to our municipalities. So I thank you for keeping your word and going out, because we do, when I ran for the school board, and going out to Millburg and Sodus and Edwardsburg, where many of our taxpayers are never, ever included in, and everybody just think that it's the city of Benton Harbor. And it is not just the city of Benton Harbor, but the city of Benton Harbor stands with us very, very strong. But Supervisor Yates out at Benton Township, Kathy Yates has felt very, very included. And so, Madam President, and to our superintendent, again, thank you so very, very much. And this is something that I know I plan to do personally myself, to, for my constituents. Because when I look back and each one of us, those of us who ran for the Board of Education, we look at those areas. We always go out there when we want millages and what have you. But I think by them seeing you all as a representation of the Board of Education, it really lets them know that we are trying to be inclusive. And I'm very, very happy, and I'm so proud that you followed up on that, Dr. Townsend and President Robinson. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments or concerns? Vice President
I'm
Bradley?
just gonna say real quick, I am happy to see that we're, getting out there and presenting our strategic plan. That was one of the things, when I first came on board back in 2019 that I wanted to see was a strategic plan, and glad that we have something tangible to go with and present to people. And I hope that we stick with it and continue to move forward.
Thank you. And it was nice because one of our communication goals is to, is specifically Benton Harbor area schools will engage and inform all stakeholders to maximize district support. So our presence in being there was showing that we were being dedicated to the goal that we had spelled out. So it was amazing that we actually had an opportunity to let them see with their eyes that we were doing exactly what our strategic plan did. So I'm really excited about our future plans to come. All right, if there's no discussion, next we have policy reading second of 2 carried over from March. Dr. Townsend?
Yes, ma'am. Reason for board consideration for the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education to review it, the updated Neola policy adoption as listed below. Twice a year, Neola sends out new and or revised policy to school districts. Central administration reviews them and notates their suggestions. These are then given to the board for review and approval. Volume 35, number 2, all new program, students, property, operation, policy reference 0131.1, bylaws and policies. The recommended actions that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education votes to approve the Benton Harbor Area Schools' revised Neola policies as presented.
All right, thank you, Dr. Townsend. And this is the second reading of these policies, policy 2260-01 or .01, policy 2266, which are both under programs. For students, policy 5341, for property, policy 7440.01, operations, policy 8321, policy 8400, policy 8510, policy 8330, and policy 8500. So this is the second reading of these policies. Are there any questions, comments, or concerns regarding the noted policies?
Madam President, I know that we have put this on hold, few meetings, put this policy reading on hold. And I would hope that there's somewhere along the line that we can get back up to speed, because this is very, very critical. The Neola policy, the Neola group, they keep up with what's going on with legislation and everything. So when we come in here, we are not outdated. So I don't know how we'll be able to recover and what Dr. Townsend had planned for us to be at this particular juncture. I know we lost some time because we took them off a couple of times off of our agenda.
Yeah, we did it.
Yes, we did. So if there's anything that we can do to get back on track so that by the end, by June and what have you, that we're where you think that we should be and what the goal is that.
Thank you. My goal is to get our policies updated. I shared multiple times. We have outdated policies. And I'm going to, with the support of the board, continue to bring them to the board for review and approval. I expect to bring a lot of them to our retreat as well, so Benton Harbor Area Schools can be up to date with other high-performing districts with our policies.
Yes, sir. I'm glad you mentioned that. We do have policy readings, the first set of readings, I know for certain, and then we'll do the second set for approval in May. So there will be policies on that board retreat agenda.
Yep. For the rest of the year, I expect to bring policies as they come, so we can never again be behind in policies.
All right, is there a motion to approve staff report S15?
I put them.
Go ahead. I'll do it.
The motion was made by Secretary Triplett and supported by Trustee Bowens. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, Secretary Triplett.
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bradley,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Bowen,
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, next we have policy reading first of two, also carried over from March. Dr. Townsend.
Yep, so I just asked that the Board of Education take the opportunity and read policy 5342 as well as 5343. Any questions, comments, or concerns that you have, please shoot them to me because I will expect to bring them. I might bring those policies to the retreat since we have a meeting coming up so we can start fresh with a first reading in May with some updated policies. Is that okay?
I'm perfectly fine with how you all do it. I think it probably depends on how much we have on the agenda. So maybe we can do this second reading as well as a set of first readings and then approve the second readings in May and kind of get back on track. But if the agenda is so hefty that it seems like it might slow us down, I understand if you want to do it differently.
If this is a first reading, this could be approved by the retreat in 2 weeks.
Okay.
It's just two policies.
All right. Any questions regarding policy 5342 and 5343? We're not voting today, but just take a moment to read through those. You can also take additional time over the next 2 weeks because those will be on the board retreat agenda for approval. And we can make updates at that time if needed. There is no questions or comments or concerns. We'll proceed to business and finance and pass it over to Mr. Johnson. Thank you, Dr. Townsend.
Thank you. The subject is monthly financial reports. Reason for board consideration: a set of financial reports is provided to the Board of Education each month. Facts and analysis: this evening it is recommended that payments for all of the district's funds be approved for February 2022. Policy reference is 6470, payment of claims. Recommended action is that the Board of Education approve the February 2022 payments for the funds listed below.
All right, is there a motion to approve staff report F1?
I make a motion to approve staff report F1.
Is there a second or support?
Second.
The motion has been made by Vice President Bradley and supported by Secretary Triplett. Any questions, comments, or concerns for Mr. Johnson? All right, hearing none. Secretary Triplett?
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bradley,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Bowens,
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
motion carries.
All right, next on the agenda, we have staff report F2 regarding the budget amendment. Mr. Johnson?
Thank you. Reason for board consideration: the general fund budget has been revised to reflect updated revenue and expenditure estimates for the 21-22 fiscal year. Facts and analysis: most of the budget updates included in this amendment are for the 13 grants listed below. 1 or 2 additional budget amendments will be recommended yet this fiscal year, possibly one in May and definitely one in June. Policy reference is 6231, budget implementation. And finally, the recommended action is that the Board of Education vote to approve as presented the April 2022 general fund budget amendment.
Okay, and then there are quite a few pages in our packet preceding Mr. Johnson. All of these are pertaining to staff report F2, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so board, you'll see the budget summary for the general fund. There's also a budget pyramid and other documents that were provided. I know that we've had our agendas, but I'll just give you all an opportunity to take a look through it. All right, is there a motion to approve staff report F2?
I make a motion to approve staff report F2.
Is there a second or support? The motion has been made by Vice President Bradley and supported by Trustee Rocket Martin. Questions, comments, or concerns? I think Trustee Bowens, did you have a question?
Yes. I'm trying to see where the COVID ESSER funds are.
They're included in the federal revenue section of the budget.
What is that?
It's a form of federal aid. So if we look at the first page, you'll see the types of revenue: local, state, federal. And so the federal line, the almost $12.1 million in the proposed revision includes the remaining ESSER 1 funds.
What page is that, sir?
The
The
budget
page
summary
directly
page,
after your
Is it page
Staff report.
5, page 4? These
It's this
pages are
one.
numbered.
one.
page 1.
have one.
Yes, you
You're
do.
in the
It's
monthly
right there.
finance.
Looks like this.
Share.
I got it.
So are we expecting another round of ESSER funds, or we got all we're gonna get?
We're expecting another round as well. And the ESSER funds can be spent and will be spent over multiple years. So for instance, with ESSER 1 funds, we spent most of those funds last year, a little bit this year for the private schools that we were required to share some of the ESSER funds with. We'll also be using some ESSER 2 funds this year, and we'll be using some ESSER 2 funds next year as well. And then ESSER 3 funds can be spent, some possibly at this fiscal year and the next 2 fiscal years.
Are we able, and I'm sorry if I'm out of line, Madam President, are we able to use ESSER funds for capital improvements?
Yes, in fact, that is part of the ESSER budget that was submitted to MDE, depending on the type of capital project.
So let me ask a question, just with the, not just the ESSER funds. Where would I go to in this report to find out about the sinking funds? Because I've noticed down through the years, for some unknown reason, those funds are never used or very rarely used. And that has been something that has really been, when I got on this Board of Education, that is something that I really wanted to get some information on with our sinking fund. We have this money in there, but it's not being used in our buildings where we can see. So where do I find the sinking funds? How the sinking funds? Is there anything in here with the sinking funds?
This budget amendment that's before the board this evening is exclusively for the general fund. It does
Okay.
not include the sinking fund. The
Okay.
sinking fund was approved back in late June of last year.
Right, I remember that. I'm just wondering if what has happened with the sinking fund since it was approved. So I can get with that, get with the chairman, and we'll get with you so we can make sure. So I want to see, I want to follow a little closer.
Can I can I make a comment?
You have the floor, Dr. Townsend.
One good thing about the sinking fund is that, as we know in our strategic plan, we talked about facilities management and facilities management plan. So while working on putting that plan together, the plan is also to spend down that sinking fund, use those monies for the plan we have for all of our facilities. So there is a plan in action moving forward, but more than happy to give you as much information as you need for sinking funds.
Okay, thank you so very much, because I just have noticed that, and maybe I just need to get a little bit more sharper or a little bit more updated on things, but I've just noticed down through the years that the majority, a lot of our monies is used for people. And I don't care if we're supposed to be doing this and that, we're paying for people to come in and do this. We're paying people to come in and we're paying for people, and we still have raggedy buildings, we still have dilapidated looking schools, and people have come in and walked up out of here, and for the purpose, like in church, when they pray, they ask that this money be, please, Lord, that the money be used for the purposes in which it was raised. And that's what I would like to see. I need, we can't have millions of dollars sitting up in here in raggedy buildings. It just doesn't make any sense to me at all. So I would like to get more information on it. I will request it. Thank you.
All right, Secretary Triplett, please call the vote for staff report F2.
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bradley,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Bowen,
No.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, next on the agenda, thank you, Mr. Johnson, for your efforts today. Next on the agenda, we have Ms. Gale with our human resources updates.
Good evening, everybody. We have several separations of employment. Reason for board consideration: a list of employees whose employment relationship with the district is or will be separated is submitted to the board each month. Facts and analysis: it is recommended that the Board of Education votes to accept the separation of employment of the following staff. Policy reference 3140. David Tripp, a social studies teacher at the middle school. recommended action that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education votes to accept the separation of employment of the aforementioned staff.
Is there a motion to approve staff report H1?
I make a motion to approve staff report H1.
Is there a second or support?
I second.
The motion has been made by Vice President Bradley and supported by Trustee Rocket Martin. Any questions, comments, concerns regarding staff report H1?
Madam President,
You have the floor, Trustee Bowens.
I just want the record to show that I'm very concerned about our staff resigning. And you guys know my usual stance on that, and it will remain.
Thank you. Secretary Triplett.
I too, this is what I'm talking about when we're talking about getting ready to approve contracts and all these different things. These people are walking up out of here. They are not walking up out of here with, because they got new jobs or they got more money. They're not. And I have sat here and I feel like I'm being complicit because I bought into whatever it is that we're trying to do. We want to make sure that we're doing our best to put out that we are working together. But I don't know if the superintendent and central administration understand that many of these people are from here. These people talk to us. These people reach out. We asked these people to go back, and I've shared this with the superintendent about my concern. I've had this conversation with the chief of human resources. And what these people are saying is that even when they speak out, they are penalized and they don't have any place of refuge to go. I want that to be on the record. If they go to anybody in central administration, the next thing you know, they are being harassed and pulled in. So, I mean, I just can't do it anymore, because this right here now, I have not been at a board of education meeting where people have not walked out this district. And there are some that are threatening right now that they're getting ready to leave, not because they don't want to be here because of our students. They don't want to be here because of the treatment. And so I'm just gonna put that out here on the table. And that's the way I will be operating as a member of this Board of Education moving forward. No offense to anybody, governance, oversight, and accountability. Thank you.
I would like to point out that I just noticed that we have staff report H5 on the printed agenda. I'm not sure how it looks on the electronic agenda.
It's still on there.
As a separation of employment, and it's actually a new hire. Go ahead.
We had a change on the agenda. I thought I addressed H5 should be.
So the report is correct. It's showing the potential hire,
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay.
but the agenda has H, so we skipped from H3 to H5, and that's a separation, but it should actually be a new hire. H4 and H5 are new hire.
No, actually, that separation of employment H5 is correct. It was just that the last minute agenda changed the numbering, that's all. There used to be an H6.
Okay, so my
H4 should be
It's
H6.
just split, that's all.
Oh, okay.
It's correct.
so do we have one new hire or two?
On my record here.
So my agenda, what I'm trying to clarify is our paperwork that we have has a H4 for a particular person that's going to central office and an H5 for a person for grant coordinator.
Okay, that is. If you look at I put an update, but I put an updated agenda in there.
Yeah, so for that, just look at the electronic. I think the electronic copy is fine. We had a change at 4:30 today. So something came off the agenda. We alerted the board. So we can go off the electronic.
So I might need some assistance once we get to that portion. So this is no longer, the grant position is no longer?
Correct.
I'll do my best with what I have.
The electronic version is correct.
Okay, so I'll just turn my neck once I get there. And if there was something that was sent out after 4:30, I wouldn't have had an opportunity to check that. So we're actually at the vote for staff report H1. Are there any questions, any other questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, Secretary Triplett,
President Robinson,
yes.
this is staff report H1.
Mhm.
Vice President Bradley,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, no. Trustee Bowens,
No.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes,
motion carried.
Next on the agenda, staff report H2.
Reason for board consideration, a list of employees whose employment relationship with the district is or will be separated is submitted to the board each month. Facts and analysis. It is recommended that the Board of Education votes to accept the separation of employment of the following staff. Policy reference 4140. Heather Brumley, teacher in training, special education, and the middle school. Recommended action that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education votes to accept the separation of employment of the aforementioned staff.
Is there a motion to approve staff report H2?
I make a motion to approve staff report H2.
Is there a second or support?
supported.
The motion has been made by Vice President Bradley and supported by Trustee Rocket Martin. Any questions, comments, concerns?
I have one, Madam President. This has always been, this was a point of contention and question, because it seems to me like these effective dates and what he had, the way in which it was worded to us some time ago, but the effective date, so on this, did this person leave on the 18th of March?
That is correct.
That position is vacant. All these positions right now, if it says effective date 3/7, effective date 3/18, those people actually left this district on that day.
That is correct.
Thank you.
Madam,
Trustee Bowen.
I would be interested, Gail, at our next HR committee, if it's possible, we can have the schools. I know you, every report, but the schools, just in this past 6 months, how many teachers have quit at each school? Because I think that data right there is telling for us as a board when we're making decisions. Thank you.
Broken down by school, by time frame. Is that what you would like?
No, okay, so say for example,
So what he's asking is in the past 6 months, we had 10 resignations from Fairplain Middle School and 6 resignations from Benton Harbor High School, whatever the numbers are. Hope I'm not quoted and saying those are the numbers, but that's the example that he'd like to see if we have, so that we can measure if there are certain schools that are losing staff at a higher rate than others.
and why, basically. I mean, that's something we as a board,
Mhm.
and I'm sorry, I'm reclaiming my time, but that is something that we as a board have to look at and see, is it, I understand there's challenges and there's challenges everywhere, but why are the teachers leaving and what can we do to improve that? That's on my end.
Just so I understand, you would like it broken down by building, numbers by building for the last 6 months. Is that correct?
I would, Madam President, what Madam President just advised.
I just want to confirm so that we actually provide the information that you're looking for in a way that you would like.
Yes,
So currently it's the month of April, so he would like for you to go back to, let's say, I mean, you could even do the beginning of the school year.
yeah.
The beginning of the school year, the resignations that we've had for those teaching staff and which building they resign from. Okay,
That is possible.
Madam President. would you-
so I think Secretary Triplett was first, and then we'll go to Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yeah, I've already gone through Trustee Bones, but that'll be good coming from the HR division. I've been monitoring and keeping a tally of not only the teachers that have resigned, just all staff that has resigned from Benton Harbor area schools. And I think that this, again, when we look at this as a Board of Education, this is a red flag. Regardless of what people say, this is a red flag. And some people feel comfortable talking to me. Some people feel comfortable talking to you. Some people feel comfortable talking to you. They talk to all of us. But I think that we have to put a listening ear. We have to pay attention. It is not personal. As a Board of Education, governance, oversight, and accountability, the accountability, I think, as I said, when I became a member of this Board of Education, that and in my MSB training, This is that's a thin line. And so when you try to sit back and not say something, because it comes off as micromanaging, but you cannot just sit, we can't do that. We cannot. Thank you.
Thank you, trustee Raquel Martin.
Yes, Mrs. Gale, is it legal and feasible for us to also have the reasons why
It is.
added to the report?
We can include that in the report,
Okay.
absolutely.
Thank you.
That's too many people.
All right, Secretary Triplett, please call the vote for staff report H2.
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bradley,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, no. Trustee Bowen,
No.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes,
motion carried.
All right, next on the agenda, we have staff report H3. Liz, can you? Okay, staff report H3, Ms. Gale.
Reason for board consideration, a list of employees whose employment relationship with the district is or will be separated is submitted to the board each month. Facts and analysis, it is recommended that the Board of Education votes to accept the separation of employment of the following staff. Policy reference 3140, Paul Gerhardt, teacher, special education, by way of retirement at the end of the school year. Recommended action that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education votes to accept the separation of employment of the aforementioned staff.
Is there a motion to approve staff report H3?
I'll make a motion to approve staff report H3.
I second that motion.
The motion has been made by Vice President Bradley and supported by trustee Raquel Martin. Any questions, comments, or concerns?
I would like to say, as far as Mr. Gerhardt is concerned, I have worked indirectly and directly with Mr. Gerhardt down through the youth. We are really losing a jewel. You're talking about a man who is so patient and so kind to our kids. And I would hope that that there's an end of the year, at the end of the year, that Mr. Gerhardt walks out of here knowing that Ben Harbor appreciate what he has done for our kids consistently for a number of years. And I am sad that he is leaving. Thank you.
All right. If there are no other questions, comments, or concerns, Secretary Triplett, please call the vote for staff report H3, correct?
Yes.
Okay, staff report H3.
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bradley,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Bowen,
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes,
motion carried.
All right, next on the agenda, we have staff
H5.
report. I'm gonna hand it over to you and you call the next staff report.
So H5, and
Okay.
I believe they're numbered like that because this was the last one added. Reason for board consideration, a list of employees whose employment relationship with the district is or will be separated is submitted to the board each month. Facts and analysis, it is recommended that the Board of Education votes to accept the separation of employment of the following staff. Policy reference 3140, Christopher Flagel, accounts payable bookkeeper. Recommended action that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education votes to accept the separation of employment of the aforementioned staff.
Is there a motion to approve staff report H5?
I make a motion to support staff report number H5.
Is there a second or support?
I support.
The motion has been made by Vice President Bradley and supported by trustee Raquel Martin. Any questions, comments, or concerns? My question is, this is under your department, Mr. Johnson? Okay. That was it. I was just making sure I understood the position.
Well, Madam President, on this here, on my thing, it goes from staff report H3, then it has H6, then there's the blue line, and then it has H4 and H5. So I can make the necessary adjustments myself.
Adjustment to H5, H6 doesn't exist. My mistake for that, I'm sorry.
So what are we on right now?
We are on H5.
There's no H4.
I
It
think
is.
H4 is
It's coming
coming
up.
next.
It's
We're just
coming
doing them out of order because it's a new hire.
And we had
Okay, Lord Jesus.
Now you understand why I was confused earlier. That's why I just
I was
gave it to
confused.
Miss Gail.
I didn't say anything.
Okay, Secretary Triplett, call the vote for staff report H5. And this is for the resignation of Mr. Flagel as an AP bookkeeper.
Okay, so it was moved by Brad.
Vice President Bradley made the motion to approve. Trustee Raquel Martin supported it.
Okay. President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bradley,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Bowens,
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
She stepped out. Yeah, she stepped out.
Well, motion passed, didn't it?
motion passed. Motion carried.
Motion carried. So just notate she had stepped out in
Yeah.
your notes.
I got it.
All right, next on the agenda, we have staff report H4, Ms. Gail.
That's right, H4.
Okay.
I had to. Submitting for board consideration to approve the employment of staff in accordance with the revised school code and other general laws of Michigan. Facts and analysis. It is recommended that the board approves the superintendent's recommendation for the hire of the following personnel. Policy reference 4120. Name Celia Otero Rios, accounts payable bookkeeper at Central. Recommended action that the Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education votes to approve the employment of the aforementioned staff.
Okay, so my question before I call for the vote, so is this person essentially replacing the person that we just,
Yes.
okay, good, because I was worried about that money. So this person is a 328 hire and this person is effective 325.
Oh, it's amazing in the finance department, we can turn around so quick in 3 days. That's some good work. Thank you so very, very much. We got, that person moved in there quickly. So this person, Celia Otero, so was the job posted
The job was posted, yes.
in 3 days?
No,
No, you know, a person can give advance notice of a resignation.
He gave us advance notice.
Okay, that's what I'm saying. See, I'm sitting here as a board member and you all are on this committee. I know nothing about this because if I look at this from here and I see here and I see these sheets, I see he left on the 25th and Celia was hired on the 28th.
But
And we
you,
have such a hard
but
time finding
sometimes you
people
have to, they did get a chance to put someone in there quickly, but you know that quality employees such as those we have at Benton Harbor area schools, we prefer that they give us advance notice of resignation so that we have an opportunity to post a position and hire.
Okay, I mean, I'm just saying, I'm sitting here not knowing.
Mhm.
and
No,
to see
I
a
understand
3-day
what you're saying.
turnaround
Mhm.
In a district that nobody wants to come and work. That's amazing.
All right, that's because that money is,
And it means that we're getting better in our
At our
HR
staff
practices.
hires.
God bless you. God bless
all
you.
right, is there a motion to approve staff report H4?
What report am
I make a
on?
motion to approve staff report H4.
Is there a second or support?
Support.
The motion has been made by Vice President Bradley and supported by Trustee Bowens. Any questions, comments, concerns regarding staff report H4? Hearing none, Secretary Triplett, please call the vote.
President Robinson,
Yes.
Vice President Bradley,
Yes.
Secretary Triplett, yes. Trustee Bowen,
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin,
Yes.
motion carried.
All right, awesome. Thank you so much, Ms. Gill, for those separations and new hires. Now the culture and the climate and culture survey, the Human X update, are you providing that to us as well?
just a real quick update.
Okay, you have the floor.
We have completed the survey portion, the actual survey of the whole culture and climate, I guess, survey initiative. We have had just over 70% participation, which is quite decent. The next phase is our in-depth feedback sessions in person that HumanX will conduct on a building by building basis, and those have been scheduled today. They will take place in the next 2 weeks. So we have 8 separate meetings, 8 separate meetings scheduled, and then once they compile the results, we will present them to the board. I actually believe that they will present the results to the board, but we will have the results ready.
So in these, each of the individual building meetings that they have? Is it just HumanX and then the staff of that building, or what's the makeup of the individuals in the meeting?
That is my understanding.
Okay. And I know trustee Bowens had recently, you wanted an opportunity for input to be provided, or like an
Yeah.
open-ended question.
You know, some of the residents and voters and taxpayers reached out. And I know some of them even told me that they did not feel comfortable doing it because they could not put their feelings, they couldn't put input down. It was just multiple choice. So some of them just looked at it and didn't respond and went on spring break. So I'm glad to hear that they'll be coming into the building. And I would like to see that. I think that's going to be interesting to see the percentage increase versus the survey versus, you know, the one-on-one interaction.
Thank you. Any other questions for Ms. Gale? All right, thank you so much for your updates, Ms. Gale. Next, we're going to go to Mr. Miller with Student Support Services. Facilities update.
Good evening, everyone. Facilities updates for this month. At the high school, we had leaks in our roofs over the gymnasium. We patched those holes up this past month. All right, that's a part of our year's roof repairs. Once we get that approved, we talked about it in our committee meetings. The boilers are working well. As you can feel, we still have the boilers on. We're gonna turn those off May 1st. That's the plan. The rerouting of the sewer lines was completed. Hopefully, once we get the rain, no longer will it, spill over and back up in our dishwashing area. So we have finally solved that issue. Fairplain Middle School, Fairplain East deck, the boilers are running well. MLK, all the painting at the building has been completed at the location. The boilers are running well. At Cape, we have replaced 3 windows in this building this month. And for the district, we have filled as many potholes that we were aware of throughout the district parking lots. And we were able to get the unit ventilators replaced with the filters that we had in place in our facilities department. And that's it for the facilities updates.
All right, any questions for Mr. Miller? I think I may have mentioned it before, but when I did my reading tour at Fairplain East, it was so hot I was sweating. So I hope that, and I couldn't stand it. I was greasy in my little video that they made for the other classes, and I had to apologize and let them know I didn't come there. So it might be a good idea, Mr. Miller, for you to, because I did not understand the intensity of the heat until I had to sit in there for a period of 30 minutes or so. So it might be a good idea to do when you go through, not just because it's okay through the hallways, but in those individual classrooms, it can be scorching. So it might be a good idea to go in there and kind of sit and experience what they're experiencing and attempting to teach the kids.
Yeah, I was over there today.
Okay.
It was pretty warm. So, the weather has been changing. It go from 30 to 60, 30 to 60 degrees. So, we can turn the heat off if you guys.
Well, I'll let you figure that piece out. I don't want to tell you to turn the heat off and then somebody gets sick. So, Secretary Triplett.
I think that, have we done our state testing yet?
What's going on now?
Okay, so our kids cannot be tested in those type of conditions. That's something, if they cannot be turned off, then they're not working good. So during that testing time, I have been in the Performing Arts Center and the cafeteria. I feel sorry for the kids, but you know what? Our kids just take it and just take it for what it is. And I'm just being honest with you. That saddens me. You cannot take a state examination in any condition when it's 100 and some odd degrees in there. That affects computers, that affects the system, it affects everything. So I think it's an administrator. It should probably be an administrator's call. And I know you can't be everywhere, but if the facilities person need to know. At Morgan, those kids, they had to almost, we had to just revamp because it was 102 degrees in the lab that they were taking that test in. And how do we expect our kids to be successful under these type of conditions? And so this is a very urgent and serious matter. If our kids are in the midst of teaching, that we get that taken care of like ASAP. If they have to go off, turn them off. Because it takes a few days. Really, it takes a little time for them to even cool down, I think.
All right, any other trustee
Yeah,
Raquel
and,
Martin?
I noticed that my reading at Fairplain East, with the children, I noticed that the classroom I was in, the whiteboards were not up to par so that the teacher could even write on them and use them. So maybe if you could, even just go through the building and see how many need whiteboards and those kind of just basic things they need to use to teach with. We could maybe upgrade those things for them.
All right, thank you, Mr. Miller. We'll proceed with
I know you see me over here. I'm sorry.
trustee Bowens.
I also agree with the heat. What day was it? When we had our spring break, I was running in the parking lot and I didn't realize what I was running into because I was late for luncheon and it got hot. I was like, whoa, I thought I was on my way to, you know what? No, but it's hot. And, our staff worked there. I hear reports of bloody noses and stuff. So something does need to be done with that. Also on the whiteboard and stuff, I think that is a great topic, but I also think that should be something that we bring up at our retreat. So we can discuss where, we need to improve and make sure we're providing a world-class quality education.
Thank you, Mr. Bowens. Next, we're gonna go to our sports updates.
All right, our athletic updates for this month. We are still in contract negotiation with about our athletic trainer contract with Lakeland. We waiting for approval from our attorneys for that. The spring sports, baseball, softball, boys and girls track, they are practicing as much as they can because of the weather. It has been a challenge. Baseball starts today, April 12th at Lawrence, and April the 15th home against Bangor. Softball first game is April the 15th at home against Bangor. Varsity track opened up at Aquinas College on March the 29th. The boys and girls performed well. They're gearing up for the rest of the season. Next up for our Tigers is the Marcellus Invite, which is tomorrow, April the 13th. The middle school track is also practicing right now. The first meet is April the 18th at Lakeshore, and the next is on April the 19th at Berrien Springs. For our boys basketball team, we finished the season with a 22-3 record and reached the MHSAA state quarterfinals. So shout out to our basketball team and our program on a great season. They represented us well, our school district really well. We traveled with the team and we heard all great things about our program. So kudos to our coach and the student athletes. Next, I want to Grant Godrzak earned AP All-State second team, and Trussell Singleton earned AP All-State honorable mention. So shout out to two of our players making All-State on the varsity team. Our girls basketball team ended with the 11-8 record, which is the best record in the last 6 years. So kudos to our girls team. Give them love. Our Lady Tigers lost eventually to the district champ, Dowagiac, in the district semifinals, 35-31. And Desiree Cowles also earned AP All-State honorable mention. So congratulations to our junior.
Yes.
All-State first team next year. That's it for our athletic updates.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. for your updates provided this evening. Next, we have teaching and learning. We have an introduction. Dr. Townsend, were you reading that?
No, that's Ms. Waddell.
She's going to introduce herself. I think we should have someone else reading her bio, the presenter, which is why I was
I
asking.
thought you were
were
on
reading.
presentation. I got you.
Yes.
Tiana Batiste Waddell, graduate of Indiana University South Bend, is an equity-driven leader committed to serving children and their families through education. She has spent over 2 decades championing for students as classroom teacher, curriculum coach, building level principal, intercultural developmental inventory qualifier, restorative justice circle keeper, and community activist. In addition, she has founded 2 businesses that focus on creating equitable educational outcomes for underprivileged students. Leisure Consulting, LLC, and Jack's Aspire Foundation. In her spare time, she enjoys reading, traveling, dancing, modeling, spending time with her family, and supporting several local community organizations that focus on dismantling the disparities that exist in the local public school system. She is featured in the book, Fighting the Good Fight, The Narratives of African-American Principalship by Dr. Aaron Griffin and Dr. Isaac Carrier. Tiana places a high value on belongingness and community building and hopes to create spaces where students and educators thrive. Without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I present to you Chief Tiana Batiste Waddell.
Thank you very much, Dr. Townsend, and thank you, board. Good evening, everybody. I'm excited to be here at my first board meeting and excited to present to you what it's been like to be with Benton Harbor area schools for the last couple of weeks. So I do have a presentation to share with you, and Liz looks like she's presenting it on the screen behind you as well. So again, you can go ahead and move to the next slide. My agenda for this quick presentation, one, I'll be going over Tiger Nation. I have been on like a listening tour. I heard somebody say that earlier. We need to do a better job of listening. So I have been keeping my ears open the last few weeks. I'm going to be going over what my top priorities have been over these last few weeks, or 2 weeks, I should say, at the time when I created this presentation. I do have some announcements that I will be going over in regards to summer school, the District Professional Development Day that is coming up at the end of the month, and I have created an internal committee in regards to curriculum assessment and interventions. It's a little bit different than the board's committee on just curriculum, so just so you know that. And then I'll move on to where we're going next. Next slide, please. You can go ahead and move to the next slide. So our first item on the agenda, as I've stated, and you can kind of just go through these slides until you get to the second one where it says to Liz. But I have been on a listening tour. I've been listening to students. I've actually run into some students that are from South Bend schools that are now in Benton Harbor schools. I've had an opportunity, you can slow down just a little bit, to go to a lot of the, actually all the buildings I've been at. There you see Fairplain East. I heard somebody earlier speak to the culture at Fairplain East, and I would be in agreement. The moment you walk into that building, you can just feel that it's got everything in place that it needs for students to be successful. You can go ahead and keep going forward. But I have had an opportunity to, like I said, talk to staff, faculty, leaders, students, and I will say over the last 2 weeks, people are determined. We were speaking earlier about a teacher that's just now retiring that's been here since 1997. I've run into many staff members just like that. They've been here for 20 or more years, and they're really committed to the students and families in this district. So it's been heartwarming to meet everybody over these last couple of weeks. Okay, Liz, you can keep going forward. So the top priorities that I've been focused on, you can keep going to the next slide, have been the standardized testing window. I've been supervising along with the Assistant Director of Literacy and Curriculum, Ms. Dr. Kroll. Right now, we are currently in that assessment window where our Tigers are taking lots of different assessments. We just wrapped up the NWEA assessment. Currently, we're with the PSAT. SAT is coming up, Ames Web's coming up, ACT Work Keys, and then in a week or so, the M-STEP state assessment is coming up. So I have been just helping supervise that, making sure that our testing protocols are in place so that our Tigers are successful. In addition, I've also been focused on finalizing our approach to summer school, and I'll be speaking to that in just a minute. I've been finalizing the training focus for our district provider professional day. And like I stated earlier, I did create an internal committee where we will begin gathering evidence to discuss what our next steps will be in our approaches to ensuring that the curriculum that we have in place is the best curriculum, making sure that we are keeping track of how our students are doing when we are teaching them. And then when our students are not successful, what do we do? And what do we do with those students that are successful on skills to ensure that we're enriching their curriculum? Next slide, please. And so the announcements that I have, the first one is focused on our summer school program. We did, as I came into the position, there was a survey that was already conducted that was giving us information on who was interested in summer school, what should summer school look like, how long should it be, when should it be, and then I created an additional survey just to discuss the curriculum and which grade levels we should serve. And so out of all of that information and that collaboration, the decision has been made that beginning Monday, June 20th through Thursday, July 21st, we will hold summer school. It will be a 5-week program. It will be 4 days a week, and our time will be 8:30 to 12:30. And we will focus on pre-K through 11th grade, focusing on community building, art, literacy, math, and credit recovery. Again, that decision was made based on the collaboration of those that participated in the survey. Again, with that listening tour, it seemed that last year's summer school program might have been a little too long and a lot of people were burnt out. And so this year we're trying to ensure that we capitalize on people's strengths and their energy. So we're gonna have a shorter summer school program. But if you look down in my bullets, I state at the second bullet that we are going to conduct a post-summer school learning challenge. And what that's going to look like is our students will be given curriculum that they are challenged to continue to do at home. We're gonna have prizes for them when they return back to school for those that complete this learning challenge in hopes that we can continue that learning even though our program that we'll provide is going to be a shorter program than last year. In addition, it will be a face-to-face instructional program with the virtual option for our high school students. And summer school registration does begin soon. So parents, if you're listening at home, please start to sign up your children. We really would like to see all of our Tigers participate in our summer learning program. But again, that registration link will be online for you to sign up. And teachers also now, starting today, have an opportunity to sign up as well to teach or to support our summer program. Next slide, please. Our next announcement is for our district provided professional day. Liz, you got it? Okay, perfect, thank you. So that's coming up at the end of the month. It's the last Friday of the month, the 29th. It will be held from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. And our focus is going to be district-wide restorative justice practices. In doing my listening tour again, we have pockets of restorative justice practices taking place. We have people attempting to create welcoming and safe environments for our Tigers and our staff, but we want to ensure that every person in our district is made aware of restorative justice practices, because when we are all trained and we do it with fidelity and we are intentional about those efforts, it works. It helps with discipline, it helps with culture and climate, it just helps with the overall function of what we're trying to do. So again, the entire district will be invited, or actually mandated to be here unless they're sick. You know, hopefully nobody gets COVID or anything on that last day of April, but everybody in the district will be trained in restorative justice practices. And when I say everybody, lunch aides, you know, cafeteria workers, bus drivers, teachers, support staff, principals, Scott's office, you know, Mrs. Gale, everybody's going to receive restorative justice philosophy training, learn about restorative justice chats, community circles, and mediations, because again, all of us matter to our Tigers. Everything that we do matters to them, and so we all need to be on the same page when it comes to restorative justice. Next slide, please. Thank you. The final announcement is the Internal Curriculum and Assessment and Interventions Committee that was created. Again, the reason why this was created was to continue to focus on our approach to continuous improvement. This committee is made up right now of building principals, instructional facilitators, special education staff, grade level teachers, and central office staff. And the purpose is to review what we're teaching, when we're teaching, to ensure that teachers are teaching the same content across classrooms. When we're done teaching, we need to ensure that we are analyzing whether or not our students have mastered the skills in which we taught them. If they have not mastered them, then how are we responding to them? And then how are we responding to our Tigers that are mastering the skills? And so we're starting to, have those types of discussions and conversations so that we can begin action planning for our upcoming school year. Next slide, please. So next steps, again, I strongly encourage our parents to register their child or children for our 2022 summer school program. That registration will take place online. It'll be a quick Google form that they can complete right on your phone or at a computer, at the library, whatever you see fit. Again, we are going to inform our staff that the upcoming DPPD Day is for all stakeholders, and we hope that all of you will be in attendance. It's going to be an awesome day. We have a guy named by the name of Dr. Robert Spicer that's coming in to do the training. He is an excellent culture and climate facilitator. He knows what he's doing. He works across the nation. I've experienced his work before, and I've been able to implement it after his training. And then the Curriculum Assessment and Interventions Committee is meeting bi-weekly. And like I stated earlier, we're going to continue to have discussions and start action planning to ensure that we roll out the 2022-23 school year strong so that we're ready to go. And so what questions do you have?
All right. I'm going to give Trustee Bowens the floor.
I don't have a question. I just want to say, in all my years, this was refreshing. And anything I can do personally and as a trustee to help you succeed in turning around this district, please do not hesitate to reach out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Bowens. Vice President Bradley, and then Trustee Rocket Martin, or whichever. Go ahead, Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yeah, the restorative justice training, is the board invited?
Can we get back to you, please, with that? Okay, thank you.
It is perfectly fine if the answer is no, because I would like for the staff to be able to do their thing without our presence. So no pressure to say yes.
I'll get back to you.
Okay.
We'll speak with him. I'll get back to you. Thank you.
And then my next question, when is the next curriculum meeting for the board?
It is actually, for the school board?
Yeah.
It is actually the 26th for the curriculum subcommittee.
Okay. Good.
And I'll be leading that as
Is it
well.
4 to 5?
I have, yes, 4 o'clock,
Okay.
4 to 5. And it looks like it's Zoom.
Okay.
So there is a link on the calendar invite.
Okay.
Yep. And just to put this out there now, there may be a merge of the two eventually over time, but I just saw things. I just wanted to get started.
Vice President Bradley.
I just want to comment. I finally got to meet you today in person because I wasn't here when you were hired on. But I am very, very, I love the presentation. I'm so glad to see our full superintendent's cabinet here in place, and welcome aboard. I look forward to working with you. And if I come back for another term, definitely looking forward to working with you in the future. I'm excited about summer school. I did summer school and I did it voluntarily. So because I love school that much. So I hope our students will get on board and go to summer school. And it's a very excellent presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you. Secretary Triplett.
I just like to say, thank you. Just to see curriculum, just to see the things that you presented. I guess I have to piggyback off of everybody else. I'm excited. I'm looking forward to working with you. And thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for your continued support.
Thank you.
I just want to say welcome home.
Yes.
And you fit right into the cabinet, and I think I'm a good judge of character, and I love your energy, and I know that you're committed and that you're here for our students and our staff, and so I'm so honored to have you here, and I think your presentation was awesome as well, so thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
All right. All right, so we're moving right along. Next on the agenda, we have old business. This is just a reminder that we have our board retreat set for April 23rd, 2022 at 10 a.m. The ending time is dependent upon the volume of the agenda, but of course, we're not going to be there all evening. We've added some with the contract renewals is going to extend us a little bit longer than anticipated. And so I will try to give a time frame. I'm thinking no longer than 2 or 3, being that it's a retreat. We'll have a lunch break and things like that. But once we get closer to finalizing the agenda, I'll be able to give a more estimate or a better estimate or time frame as to the ending, because I know we all have additional things to do. Is there any other old business?
Madam President,
You have the floor, and then Vice President Bradley.
will the retreat be live for those in YouTube land or Zoom
Yes,
land?
it'd be just like this.
Okay.
We'll be in person.
No, I'm sorry. We're not doing a Zoom land. It's a Saturday. We don't have staff to do this. There's no virtual option.
Thank you.
What, they not able to come?
Correct, incorrect. It's Saturday, there's no option.
I think that's overtime.
We talked
What-
about this.
But I will go back to the team and we'll see what we can do to make that happen. Even if I got to run the Zoom, I'll make sure it's good.
Because their employment is not necessarily for a Saturday, so we would be making additional accommodations to request that they be here on a Saturday. So Dr. Townsend, just give us a
I
follow-up
will.
on
I
that.
absolutely will.
Okay.
Yeah.
We will still be here in person, whether or not it's recorded or virtual or Zoom link provided. And I will remind each of us that we're not required to provide the actual live recording. That's just something additional that we do. So as long as we have an open meeting where people can attend in person, we will be safe under the OMA expectations. But I look forward to receiving Dr. Townsend's update. And I know Paul Corson is one of my favorite people, so we'll see how things go with that, as well as you. But no, I didn't forget you. I didn't forget you. But the only reason I mentioned Corson is because he said no one's available. So I was responding to him speaking, but of course I love you both. Vice Secretary Triplett, go ahead.
No, I was just, it just threw me off. You know, I didn't know that there was no one available because there's more than one person that worked.
Not on
And that-
Sunday, not on the weekend. This
It's
is
a
I'm just
Saturday.
saying, I know it's on a Saturday. I was saying that there's no one available. Is money the issue? Is there any way where they could get paid if they wanted to come? You offer them to do
the
something?
money is not an issue, but I'm gonna try my best to make something happen on Saturday.
Okay, just a little bit. It just floored me. Really pissed me off. Be honest with you. Had enough. Really. Enough.
Okay, Vice President Bradley.
I just wanted to mention that the MASB training is next weekend as well. I do know, I think Secretary Triplett is attending. If anyone else wants to attend, see Liz. I know because of my work schedule, I won't be able to make it, but you want to?
I have one on virtual.
Oh, okay. And we got one doing virtual. So we have 2 people attending training. So remember, take those classes. It's very, very, very vital that we're well-rounded here at the board table as well. You know, we expect our staff members to do professional development. Let's have the board continue to do professional development as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other old business?
Madam President,
You have the floor.
yes. It's been a while since we talked about the demolishing of certain buildings that are in our district that are no longer usable at all. And I'd like to put that back on the agenda possibly in May so that we can really take a look at what we're still spending money on that we really don't need to spend money on, that we can use that money to upgrade, really upgrade. When I say upgrade, either knock some of these buildings down and build new schools for our kids, or go into these buildings and go from the floor up and remodel them like they did MLK at one point in one time. It is expensive, and if we don't have to have money going out into things that we can no longer use at all, then that certainly would be a savings for our district and help us to have the financial, meet some of the financial needs that we have for the buildings that we do now currently occupy. So for May, I would like to put the demolition of Bard, what was it, Martindale and North Shore back on the agenda.
Madam President.
Okay, one second. Mr. Johnson, I know that we have received previous bids for the potential cost of demolishment for those buildings. Those bids had expired, is that correct? So if we were to place that back on the agenda for a potential vote, we would not have a bid or an amount to actually vote on, or what would that look like for May?
That's correct. The bids expired. We could contact the low bidder to see if by any chance they would still honor it. No guarantee, but we could ask.
So if that's something that you can check into to see, because it'd be difficult for us to put a vote on the floor to demolish a building without having some information about the cost of that, potentially. So check with them and see if they have any interest per Ms. Rockette Martin's request for the May agenda. Secretary Triplett?
You know, we talked about the demolition, this keep coming up, and this is very important to certain trustees on the board to destroy and demolish property in the district that we are spending money on, which we can't be spending any money on because nothing works in them. First of all, I have asked for the longest, what bills has Martindale had? What if the district paid when a tree is coming out of Martindale's roof? So the district cannot be paying for heat. The district cannot be paying for security. The district most definitely cannot be paying for electricity. The district has not paid for upkeep on the ground. What has been paid? That's number one. Okay, number two, when we left here and we talked about Bard, the district was supposed to contact and meet with Mr. Byrne. That's 4 or 5 months ago. Nobody has done any of this. Nobody has talked to anybody. This Board of Education said that we would put that on the table and talk about things and find people in our community. Because see, a lot of times people aren't from here and they let it be known that they're not connected to here. They're not connected to the communities in which these facilities are. And so that's a known fact. But if we're going to do something like that, which I don't have any problem with even talking about it, but just because we elected and sitting at this table, we still could not continue to disrespect our constituents, as Trustee Bowen said. Because you didn't get up to this table, neither one of us got up to this table on name recognition. People went out and voted, and the last board that came in got voted for in a pandemic. So I said all of that to say
Don't
this.
slight me, I was voted too. Even though I was in my own category, I still got
You weren't with
votes.
us, you didn't have to, oh yeah, you was voted, you ain't had
I
nobody.
sure was.
Well, the last 5 of us, anyhow, that was voted by people, okay? And the disrespect, that the thing that for boards of education, officials and what have you, once people get on these boards, they're like, these people don't matter at all. Before we go into demolishing, we need to find out what work was done with getting in touch with Mr. Bond. What have we done? Let's go back and check our minutes so we can do what we said we were gonna do. I don't know who keep pushing this thing, and it pops up every now and again. We come and tear these buildings down. Property, land is valuable. Land is valuable. And guess what? Everything around here is landlocked but Ben Harbor. And you better know who and what you're working with and be clear before you make these decisions. But people who have paid taxes here forever and people making decisions who have not given a dime tax-wise to this community. Thank you.
Trustee Bowens?
I also support putting the resolution on the agenda to demolish those buildings. When I looked in those buildings, we had homeless people sleeping in them. You had little kids playing in them, running around like it's a free playground. It's asbestos, it's a health hazard. We have trees falling, and it's just not those buildings. Let's be honest and have a real conversation about the educational crisis we're having in Benton Harbor. You have Fairplain on Learning Lane. You have the school on Hoover. You go up into Fairplain Northeast and you look up. Our kids deserve the best. And we can't keep operating like we have over 25,000 students when we only have probably 1,300 or less than that. We have to be realistic. Also, we can't keep business as usual. So if we don't want to demolish the buildings, put them back up on the market and sell them. We got to do something. This is the same thing we're doing, kicking the can down the road. So I support putting the buildings up to be demolished, sold, or whatever. It's about, let's just look at it. It's nothing we can do with Bard. Martindale, they're demolishing it. I mean, they're playing in it. It's nothing we can do. These are rats and mice and raccoons coming in there. We're paying to shovel in the wintertime and everything. Enough is enough. We got to be realistic. And realistic is, let's take our emotions and our passion away from that. And let's look at the realistic. Our kids are not going to go back to that school. Benton Harbor, as long as we are here until we get a new generation of citizens or more citizens moving in, we're not going to be there. We can put all of our kids in this high school building and still have more space. What's the point of holding this on? That's my philosophy. You can hate me now. If it don't make dollars, it don't make sense. And it don't make sense to keep those buildings there.
Vice President Bradley.
I was just gonna say real quick, yeah, there are costs associated with these buildings. They're in our monthly financial reports every month.
I ain't seen it.
BART right here listed
I
under
see.
the electricity, for the 2021 fiscal year to date total, BART cost us about $1,000. Let me see, yep, for the year 2021, $1,000.
All right.
And then for the utility, water and sewer for BART was $750. So they are costing us money. So I am in agreement they should come back up because we don't want to end up having someone get hurt in those buildings and then it falls back on us. So I am in agreement with that.
Yeah, Madam President.
So Trustee Raquel Martin, now we towards the end of this meeting, you done got a whole nother board meeting started with this topic.
No, I'm not.
So I'm gonna, Vice President Bradley, 1, 2, 3, 4, you gotta go? You can't give us a few more minutes? Okay, let's wrap this on up. Can we, Trustee Raquel Martin, so I've heard your request and I don't believe I've ever denied a request for an agenda item. So what I'm gonna do is ask that Mr. Johnson follow up with the lowest bidder to see if they're willing to extend or give us the option of the potential cost that they had before. If we're unable to do that, then there's nothing for us to even consider for a vote because, go ahead. They responded?
Another option would be to contact the second lowest bidder. if the
Okay,
first one says no.
so I trust your judgment in doing that. And if we don't have a cost to review, then there would be nothing to actually vote on, but we can always consider it. I'm gonna try to keep it moving because Vice President Bradley has to go and I don't want us to be down to a 4-person board. Any new business?
Yes. Yes, this is new business. This is new business. Whatever money, whatever money, we're gonna, even if those are, that's adamant about kicking the can down the road and.
Sir, that's not new business.
New business, I got something, it's gonna be a new flair to it. Before we tear down anything, we need to fix these buildings our kids are sitting in right now, burning up right now as we speak. Before we spend another dime on anything else, Benton Harbor High School is open. Fairplain East is open. MLK is open. DEC is open. Cape is open, and they are in terrible condition. So you take that money and fix what you got. So maybe you might get some kids back up in here if you treat them like human beings and take care of the stuff that needs to be taken care of. Then you tear down something. Why you gonna tear down something what you in is nasty and broken and unacceptable?
Thank you, Secretary Triplett.
New business.
Next, we have open public comment. Is there anyone for open public comment? All right, Ms. Johnson. You gotta go right at this moment. Okay, so Vice President Bradley has to leave. Secretary Triplett, if you can note that Vice President Bradley had to exit.
I literally come in peace. So
Thank you.
I was at
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't read the statement.
Oh.
Let me speed through it. Have a good evening, Vice President Bradley. He exited the building at 8:02 p.m. We still have a quorum with the majority of the board present. The Benton Harbor Area Schools Board of Education recognizes the value of public comment on educational issues and the importance of allowing members of the public to express themselves on district matters. Today, there are 2 areas for comment on the agenda of which you may decide when to speak. Public comment on agenda items was earlier. Currently, we're at open public comment. We request that each interested participant complete a public participation form using legible writing to ensure that responses are appropriate and properly focused. Per Benton Harbor Area Schools Bylaw 0167.3, which governs board participation at board meetings, we request that you preface your comments with your name, address, and group affiliation when appropriate. Each statement made by a participant shall be limited to a 3-minute duration, and per our bylaws, no participant may speak more than once during this meeting. Participants may remove their masks when addressing the board. Participants shall direct all comments to the board and not to staff or other participants. The board will listen, take comments and questions under advisement and not respond at this time. I, as president, will refer questions to the superintendent for research and response. Please ensure that your public participation form includes your contact information as requested. If you have specific questions for the board or executive team that require follow-up, please email those directly to liz.goodwin@bhas.org. You have the floor, Ms. Johnson.
Okay, so I have a question. I was at Fairplane yesterday. Yes, it is hot up there. And I was just watching some of the kids. Is anybody trained in trauma therapy? And I'm sorry, I'm a social worker, so you know, and Deshauna know how I am. But is anybody trained in social work? Because I see you guys have these walking 5-year-olds up there that's supposed to be advocates or whatever they're supposed to do. They're not really trained in nothing but smiling and wearing cute lace fronts. And you have these security guards that's buddy with the kids. Was anybody trained in trauma? Because honestly, we do trauma. Well, I'm in a lot of trauma training because of my job, but I think a lot of these people need to go to CTAC Children's Trauma Center in Western Michigan with Dr. Henry. He is awesome and he speaks all over the world, and maybe start taking some classes and start getting these people trained, because you have these security guards and they do great jobs, bless their heart. But at the end of the day, are they trained to work with some of these kids who have these emotional issues? Because just putting them out of school apparently is not working, because 10 days they're coming back to act a fool again, to be set out again for another 10 days. So what are you doing? You're creating a cycle and not breaking it. So if you get some of these teachers to get in some of these training and get some of these representatives or some of these social workers from out of school, work with Western, work with LMC. And so these new workers can kind of get their feet wet and seeing what they're working with and working into, so they'll know, and get some trauma trained individuals in here, because a lot of these kids are not bad. They're trauma. They need trauma. They need some services, and getting some therapists in here and getting someone to work with these kids who are trauma trained, TBSCT or whatever you call it. We do it all the time in my field. But I've noticed that a lot of these kids are not bad. They just are misunderstood. When you get that one individual that they click with, because I work with a lot of deviant kids, and a lot of the worst ones kind of click with me, because probably I'm a little bad too. But at the end of the day, getting someone that's trauma trained to go to work in the school system that understands these kids, instead of kicking them out, maybe having someone to work with them to understand them. Get some advocates to go inside these homes to see what's the actual problem, because these kids could probably be like struggling. They may not be eating, may not have food, may not have clothes, shelter, whatever the case may be. But if you get someone that's actually not scared to go into some of these homes and see what the root of the problem is, you might have a better understanding working with them one-to-one. Now, a lot of you guys know what I do, but at the end of the day, because I was trauma trained to understand these kids. So maybe you guys, instead of hiring some of these big wigs with these $1 million salaries, get some of these low people in some of these schools and some of these interns to come here that's trauma focused and trauma trained to work and understand some of these kids. Because y'all kicking them out is not helping. I seen the kid cuss the teacher out so bad, I almost wanted to go down there and hurt him. But at the end of the day, him walking, he was crying. So that means there was a problem. Get to the root of the problem instead of putting them out. Yeah, they bad. Don't get me wrong, but at the end of the day, what you do for Peter, you may have to do for Paul differently in a different manner and approach it in a different way. So how about getting some trauma trained therapists and take some trauma classes and reach out to Children's Trauma Assessment Center to work with Dr. James Henry, because he is awesome and he is right in this area. He worked with a lot of my kids and he's training us as workers. And I am a social worker, so I know. But I'm just asking, have y'all ever thought about getting some trauma therapists in here, some trauma focused, and training teachers to help them understand? Because you're burning your teachers out, and that's why they're walking out the door, because they're not trained to deal with a lot of these behaviors. Because you quote from quote Ben Harbor does not mean anything. You got to understand these kids on a different level. That's all I'm saying, and that's what I wanted to know. Do you guys have that focus?
We'll reply to you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yes.
All right, next, anyone else for open public comment? Ms. Terrell?
Okay, my time is starting. I have to say my name, right?
Mhm.
Brenda Terrell, Benton Harbor Area School teacher, union president. I want to say this first, and I'm not saying something that we're not appreciative of what has been given to us as staff members. But when you're working and you're working on a salary that's a decade behind, and like I said, don't get me wrong, we appreciate, some people thought that we got if you had a bachelor's, you got $900 extra on your check. No, baby. You divide that into 26, that's $34.62. That's before taxes. So you might get an extra $20. $1,400 if you are a master's degree. You have to split that into your 26 payments. So that's $53.85. So you might see an extra $30. We cannot continue. And I know we're in negotiations right now, but I still have to say these things because my colleagues look for me to say these, because some of them I will not stand up before you all and say that. But what we do need to see, we need to see that our teachers are taken care of, our staff and parapros and all. We need them to be taken care of. We cannot continue to work a decade behind everybody. You can't go to Myers and buy a roast and you tell them, well, I'm gonna pay what it cost a decade ago, and they're gonna look at you like you're crazy and call the police on you. But we have to do something. We sat at a meeting last night, MEA meeting, and I was embarrassed when we had our itemized list passed out showing the ESSER amounts and what some of those people said that they were giving. And I'm looking at the millions of dollars. I know some of this money have not reached us yet, but it's coming because the expert to this was at our meeting last night.
It's here.
And it was embarrassing to hear them say how their district has given them bonuses, Christmas bonuses,
Big money.
semester bonuses. And we're looking like, are you serious?
Yes.
And then they're looking at this because they have the same paper too. They're looking at us like, well, what are you guys doing? We need to see some transparency with this ESSER funds, and the community wants to see it as well. You know, we got a lot of things going on. We got our conditions of our buildings. Somebody talked about it. We had an issue today in our building. That building has to be taken care of before we open our doors and let our kids in there or ourselves in there in the morning. And our kids need a playground. A little boy told me, I said, you got to hurry up and do your work because you won't be able to go outside. He said, well, I don't like to swing, and that's the only thing out there. I felt bad. I honestly did. And this last thing, because I know my time is up. People are asking about the debt. They are confused. They want to know if the debt is paid off. And I keep saying it is not paid off. You guys, we're gonna still have a debt. So we gotta start having these conversations, and we gotta be open and honest, and we cannot be sitting around with our mouths closed and just saying things that sound good.
Right.
We have to be about the business. So that's what I have right now. And hopefully that you guys, we have to listen. You might not want to hear what people have to say, but you guys, we're not saying anything to hurt our district. This is our district. This is our community. If anybody gonna be here, it's gonna be us.
Thank you, Ms. Terrell. Anyone else for open public comment? Ms. Terrell, the spreadsheet that you have, is it feasible for you to get our chief of HR, a copy of that? Okay.
Yeah, just send us exactly what you have. We probably got something different from you.
Thank you. You have the floor. My apologies.
Thank you, Ms. Terrell. So I wonder if all the salaries are a decade behind. Thank you. Thank you, board, for your service. Mr. Triplett, I appreciate what you say regarding how important it is to have a room painted and lovely to welcome someone. Nothing says I care about you more than that. And when I came, I requested that my room be painted. I'm in 225. I'm a science teacher, but I have been placed in a non-science classroom. I requested, along with other teachers, we would like our rooms painted. We signed up on the spreadsheet. It never happened. Then they said, well, we'll buy the paint. You can paint the rooms yourselves. The paint never came. Nothing was said. We're getting close to open house. I could not bring parents into that room or students the way it looked. So I started painting and I purchased the paint myself. If you go up to room 225, you will see painted in school colors. I have my tiger. I have Tiger Pride banner I made. I made love and you are beautiful. So when the students enter, whomever, they can see that. As you pass by in the hallway, you can see that. I believe every little bit matters. When I go down into our beautiful art district, I would love to see banners of our students, our student athletes on those light poles. So when everybody comes into our art district, they see our young people. I've spoken with Udi. She owns Ground Souls Cafe. She's on the board, working with the city, and she thought that was a wonderful idea. So I'm going to speak with her again. I don't know if that's something for the board as well, as far as getting our student athletes up on the light poles as you go downtown, and you can see them. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Mayor Mohammed, you have the floor.
Thank you. Marcus Muhammad, City of Benton Harbor, 453 Cherry Street, a homeowner, a parent. My daughter Aziza Muhammad is a potential graduate for the 2022 class, hopefully valedictorian. She just received a scholarship from Xavier University for $88,000 over 4 years, a special biology program because she plans to go to school for medicine. She also received a full ride scholarship from Tennessee State University, scholarships from Western Michigan, University of Kentucky, and many more. But I'm saying all that to say that there were decisions that were made by the Board of Education that kept the high school open. None of you were seated and the superintendent was not here. But the school board at that time made a decision that they were going to keep Benton Harbor High School open against the tide of pressure from higher government. So I'm just saying that to say to you all, your decisions matter. Your decisions impact lives beyond your term in these seats, beyond superintendents, beyond staff. But your decisions impact the community, the city of Benton Harbor for years to come. So I just want to applaud you, one, for sitting in the hot seat. But number two, every vote, think about not just today, but tomorrow. One thing that I've learned in the last 10 days and I will not exceed the time, is that there are a lot of agendas that are swirling around the city of Benton. This property and many other properties. So hold the line on behalf of the residents and the taxpayers. Make decisions that are in the best interest. And I'm asking because I'm striving to do the same thing at City Hall. I had thoughts about certain things, but when I saw the wolf, I couldn't abandon the flock.
Thank you, Mayor Muhammad. Anyone else for open public comment? Are you here for open public comment, sir?
No, I'm just checking this microphone out. No,
You have the floor.
I am. I'm Bud. I work here. I've never done an open public comment thing before.
And you're one of my favorites.
Oh, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. No, I'm not a very political type person. My boss over there is just freaking out right
Talk to the
now.
mic.
Anyways, so I'm a very direct person. Most you know me. Some of you guys do, some of you don't. I don't know how to beat around the bush, and I say what I mean, and I mean what I say. But sometimes, man, sitting here recording this stuff, because it's me almost all the time, whenever we get to the part where people leave the district, the tone that some of you guys say sounds like you're attacking our administration, saying like, oh, why'd you let these good people go? Well, my first week here, 6 years ago, I had to walk around a maintenance man who was sleeping in a doorway, no lie, as I was getting a tour of a building. The whiteboards, Miss Rockette, when I first got here, I was given another tour of the skill center. Walking into the back room, whole floor was covered in whiteboards, brand new. Some of them, you pick them up. And so I'm like, dude, what's up with these whiteboards? The fella giving me the tour said, our maintenance guys don't want to do anything, so they just threw them on the floor and they just step on them. They don't want to put up the whiteboards. But all those people gone now, they're all gone. Now we got two. You know, and it just bothers me to no end to sometimes people will come to you and tell you their side, and it's in you to fight for them because that's what you do and you're good at it, right? You know what I'm saying? Find the other side of the story. If you don't want to go ask other people, you know, come ask old buddy. I don't care. I'll tell you. I mean, fire me. I don't care. You know, I really don't. Nothing screwy's going on here. Miss Gail does the best she can. Sometimes people come in, they just got to go because they just aren't any good. You know, that's just it. That's just it. They can be related to you all you want. Sometimes your cousins or your family members are not good employees. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. About the most I've heard you say in all school year. All right, next, anyone else for open public comment? All right, hearing none, we'll go to Dr. Townsend, superintendent announcements and comments.
Thank you, President Robinson. First and foremost, I'd like to give a congratulations to Vice President Bradley for being awarded the designation of certified board member with MASB. In addition, both he and Secretary Triplett also received recognition by earning MASB award merits, and the community appreciates your diligent efforts in continuing education. So shout out to our board members. Can you clap it up for them? Also, I'd like to congratulate President Deshauna Robinson on being selected as one of the official winners of the inaugural Moody on the Market 40 under 40.
Okay.
And thank you so much, President Robinson, for all that you do for the community of Benton Harbor.
Thank you, same to you. Congratulations to you as well.
great news. The Feel Good Fridge program with Whirlpool is off and running. We're running a pilot program at Martin Luther King Elementary and are expanding to all of our schools. We are so thankful for the partnership with Whirlpool and Feed America of Southwest Michigan. The high school just received 6 brand new refrigerators right here and is fully stocked with 2,000 pounds of food. Any young person at any given time can go in there outside of school hours. Families can come get some food. And we just want to ensure that we support with the Feeding America's food insecurities that are going on not only across the nation, but some communities in the state of Michigan are hit extremely hard. And this is the first going on in the state of Michigan, right here in Southwest Michigan. And very last, I want to send a major congratulations to some of our students here at the Benton Harbor High School, specifically junior Grant Gondrazat for being named to the Division II boys basketball all-state second team, and senior Tricell Singleton, who's honorable mention for all-state. We hope those young people have post-secondary opportunities with scholarships in basketball. And major shout out to Desiree Cowles, doing a phenomenal job, honorable mention, all-state. And congratulations to all of our young student athletes at all grade levels who participated. They're doing a phenomenal job, not only representing their families, but good old Tiger Nation. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Townsend. Now we have 7 minutes to 8:30. We'll see if we can keep our meeting to a 3-hour meeting. We can shoot for that. I know sometimes we have longer comments and sometimes not. So we're going to start with board member comments. I'm going to start with Ms. Raquette Martin. You're sitting over here
By myself.
all alone.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am. Ladies
I'd like
first.
to, commend Mrs. Waddell for her collaboration efforts that she's doing with her staff, and that it's not a dictatorship from the top down, but that you are considering, that you are using your staff members to help guide the work that you're doing. I applaud you for that. And I thank you for that. I also would like to say that even though I was not born in Benton Harbor, I have been a resident here since 1975. And the decisions I make based on the best efforts that I believe is for our community and for our students. And that you can have blight in your neighborhood. And nobody wants to live where blight is in their neighborhood. So the other thing I would like to say is, you know, I'm not advocating giving away the property, not by any means, but the property is more valuable. Sometimes property is more valuable without the building on it. And gangs, I personally toured buildings that gang graffiti was on the wall, and they had built a meeting place. They literally, in that dilapidated building, had put a table with chairs, and they were meeting and having gang meetings there, you know, and buildings where people were sleeping in, they had no business being in. And, you know, so that was my, that's my reason, 2 of my reasons for wanting to demolish those buildings. I understand the history. You know, I was here when those buildings were in use. In fact, I had offices in some of those buildings. So I understand that, but I understand that we want to move forward and we want new things for our kids. I don't want my grandkids to come to buildings that are falling down. I want Fairplain Middle School and Fairplain East and MLK to be torn down and built up from the floor up with new everything, everything. And it can be done. They did it to MLK. I mean, they didn't keep it up. Hopefully we'll keep it up, but they did it and they moved us in there, and it was a beautiful building. And parents told me, they said, we want to come to this school because it is new. I want my children in new things, good things, fresh things. Why can't our kids have those things and still honor our traditions? We can do those things. So with that being said, I'm for newness, I'm for freshness, I'm for global learning facilities that help our children to compete in the global world. You know, Why can't our children be studying microbiology?
Thank you, Trustee Raquel Martin. Please wrap up your comment.
Am I done?
You
Oh,
sure
can I
are.
say this one thing? When we went on our college tour, our kids got the chance to see a cadaver. They actually could touch it, see it being dissected. Why can't we, well, maybe not a cadaver, but a pig or a frog or something? They don't even have an opportunity to do those things. But we can get our district to that point if we'll let the past go and move forward.
Thank you. Trustee Bowens.
Good afternoon, and thank you for, good evening. Thank you for coming to the board meeting tonight. You know, some may take it as an attack. I take it as accountability. Some may say our staff and our local people and your cousins are lazy. I think it's something different. When I walk into these classrooms and I walk into these school buildings and I see kids smoking and cussing and everything, what are we giving our generation? When I see teachers resigning and we have no accountability, what are we giving our generation and our young people? What are we accounting for education? So being held accountable is different than being attacked. The audacity to accuse is just crazy. I listen to both sides. I go into the schools. I see the teacher who's in 3rd grade or 4th grade and has a whiteboard and she can't write on it because it's stained. I see the schools that have flood in it and they can't learn because it stinks. I see holes in the floor. I've seen this paint peeling off the walls. I see holes in the bathroom. I see what our kids are learning. I see that all of this is not the district's fault. It takes a community. And I've been saying it from day one. We have to have a conversation on how we envision community. But when we're asking questions and we're seeing data, and then you're hearing one thing, somebody needs to be held accountable. The time for games is no longer. We as a district have to make sure we are seeing that Johnny is in the 9th grade and he doesn't know how to read, and we fail past him, and we think it's okay, and we are setting him up, and then we read in the newspaper, Johnny got killed, or Johnny doesn't know how to do this and defend himself. We have set our generation up for failure, and we have to do something about it. We have to be strict on accountability and demand more. For far too long, Benton Harbor has got to where it is because we weren't being accountable. So if accountability makes you feel like I'm being too nice and I'm picking out on my nieces and nephews and uncles and cousins and family members, so be it. Deal me in if that's the fight you want to have. I'm blunt and I can handle my ground. So deal me in. If this is the fight you want to have, deal me in. Thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Bowens. Secretary Triplett.
Well, you know, it amazes me. It absolutely amazes me, first of all, that people think, you know, the mindset, they don't, a lot of times people don't understand that this is a small, close-knit community. And so we hear what you say, that you know, people say that come here to our community, they come in here, they country, they poor, they dumb. We heard you. And we still tolerated you. We were still kind to you, and we still paid you. See, that privilege stuff. But people think they can come up and I don't know who people think we are as a community, that you can come up in here and talk about our cousins, our mamas, our aunties, our uncles, our whatever, lazy, and what have you, but it was more y'all working in here than it was us. And it always has been. Don't play the game. If you want to be candid, and let's keep it real, it ain't about you. It's about all of you. Because see, I sit here for a whole year and dummy myself down because that's a part of educational leadership. You go, when you come into something new, you sit back and you watch the player. And I ain't blind at all. At all. And ain't nothing up in here fooling me, period. And I'm from here. And I don't look at our kids as being disadvantaged. I don't look at our kids as being poor. I look at our kids being played. Because there's a difference in the workhorse and the show horse. And don't ever forget it. Benton Harbor is strong. We're resilient. And it's 25 different pictures. Every 4 or 5 years, the administration, the people come, new people come, and they leave. And we still live here. And our school district is going to stand. So you could, if it don't apply, let it fly. Period. Because my stripes ain't never changed. Ever. I've always been the type. You can't join in, you got to be born in. So I don't take it personal. And I understand what you might think that you've done. But don't be deceived. Please don't be deceived. And many people should be grateful because Ben Harbor has given you an opportunity when others would not. We are resilient. Ben Harbor is good. Ben Harbor gonna make it. And what's happening in this world, Ben Harbor is not exempt from it at all.
Thank you, Secretary Triplett. Please wrap up your comment.
I'm gonna close with this. I want to say to my brother, Dr. Townsend, I'm proud of you, brother Townsend. I really am. You know, and I'm just Mr. Triplett. I can't be nobody else but myself. You understand what I'm saying? 24/7. You know, and I'm gonna close with this, Madam President. If it
That's
don't
your
apply,
second closing.
if it don't apply, let it fly. And if it applies, if it applies, thank you so very, very much. God bless you.
You don't put the God bless you on the end.
At the end of it, I'm just
Sure
trying my
will.
best.
So I'll be brief in my comment. I just want to say that I appreciate all of our board members and everyone from our administration team for your efforts that you give. I understand that we have certain topics that are hot topics at the board table. And I've said it before, it puts me in a position where I have to make difficult decisions and sometimes go with the minority in a decision to make sure that the board in full feels comfortable with what we are doing and the way that we are conducting business. And so I hope that it does not communicate to our team that we have doubt in decisions that you make, but just making sure that we're also providing support to the concerns of the board, and I will continue to do that. Our number one priority is to restore Benton Harbor area schools to its excellence as we've seen in our previous years. And given the amount of time that we've had difficulties in our district, we understand that it's not going to be a quick turnaround. However, I am committed as long as I am a member of this board in giving my ultimate effort, because I don't put my name on anything that is not of excellence. And so when I joined this board, I understood that there was quite a bit of turnaround effort that would be needed, and we're all aware and we're all walking in it daily, but I just ask that everyone is patient and gracious in your efforts and your action, that we are loving in tone and understanding and gracious with each other, with written communication and verbal, that we remember that we are all on the same team working towards the same mission, vision, goals, with the same belief statements, and that we utilize that in how we interact with each other. And so that is all that I am going to say, with addition to congratulations to Dr. Townsend as well for his 40 Under 40 award that he received. We were acknowledged in October, but I had our banquet. So it was very nice to be able to see both the board president and the superintendent receiving that award at the same time.
40 under 40.
And I just appreciate your efforts and everything that you've brought, as well as the chiefs. I know I've stated that before. So with that, I will close. Thank you to everyone that came today and stood with us through our meeting as well. You guys know I always try to wrap it up with the bow after we've gone through our meeting. So with that being said, I'm gonna call for a motion to adjourn. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
The motion has been made by Secretary Triplett and supported by Trustee Rockette Martin. Any questions, comments, or concerns? Hearing none, Secretary Triplett. Can you please call the vote?
President Robinson?
Yes.
Secretary Triplett? Yes. Trustee Bowen?
Yes.
Trustee Rocket Martin.
Yes.
Motion carried.
This meeting is adjourned officially at 8:36 PM. Have a great night, everyone.
Yeah, it is. 8:30.